All right, we're live. We're live. What is going on, everybody? Good to see all of you here tonight. Nice little Thursday night stream. Hopefully, I didn't keep you waiting too long and you just got in here. However, if you were in here from the beginning, I apologize. I meant to start like 15 minutes ago, but something came up. As per usual, you know, the best timing. So good to see all of you guys here. Few stories to kind of get into, more or less the same of what's been happening since last week and what I've been talking about and reporting on. So, you know, nothing really too groundbreaking. There is a situation with Saudi Arabia that's very interesting in regards to giving them a nuclear program or a nuclear deal for 30 years. And I spoke about that 2 weeks ago or a week ago when the formal agreement first broke. I was talking about how it's disastrous. I didn't think it's a good idea. And I understand there's the idea of balance and power, or a checks and balances system really in the Middle East that can keep Israel in check. As we know, Israel has over 200-300 nuclear warheads. So another country having nuclear ability and or possessing some potential nuclear ability could serve as useful. But overall, it's just going to cause an arms race in the Middle East, which is already starting to unfold. So we'll get into all of that and we'll go over the article. But something really funny happened. Trump said something new today, and he said, well, yeah, we'll only do the deal with Israel after they sign the Abraham Accords. Or sorry, the deal with Saudi Arabia after they sign the Abraham Accords, which is just nuts. And I tweeted about it. So we'll get into that. I have a few different clips here queued up that we can react to as well. How's everybody doing? MD, thank you so much for the 2. How's everyone doing tonight? Hopefully you guys had a good day. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday, man. It's Thursday. It's almost Friday. Good day at work, being unconscious like a good slave. That's just what it is. I'm unconscious at work. I'm just at work and I'm being a good worker. I'm at work and I'm, you know, just imagining what it would be like to go outside and enjoy the weather. I'm not going to do the work thing again. But no, hopefully you guys all had a good day. I've been, on the off note, I've been decorating the apartment a lot. I got to take a video on like LARP it on Instagram. It's really coming along. I got some new plants, fake plants, obviously. I'm not watering those. And I got some new wall decor, some new like RGB lights. Is it RGB or RBG? I always forget. Obviously not the most intuitive tech guy here, but I got some new lights. I got some new wall decor, some carpets. I made my entrance area really nice, hanging some stuff up on the wall. So I've been really, you know, making my apartment feel like a home. Thank you so much, Gilberto, for the 1 gifted. I've been making this place feel like my home. And, you know, in the beginning, hair's messed up. In the beginning, whatever, I first moved into this apartment and I moved out. So I'm 24 and I moved out of my parents' house when I was 23. So I moved out last year. In May of last year, I finally moved out. And actually, I say finally, that's kind of a younger age to move out, at least I think. I think being on your own in your 20s is important, but you shouldn't rush it too much. And everybody's story and timeline and or trajectory is different. But I moved out at 23 into my now old apartment, but at that time it was new. And I didn't really like decorate it that much. It was pretty plain. And people would come over and they would go, damn, bro, like, do you want to put a plant somewhere? Do you want to hang something somewhere? And I'd just be like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? This is my cave. I come here, I eat, I stream, I go to the gym. You know, I work from home some days, but, you know, like, what's the point? I never really saw the point. You know, I kind of could understand it from someone else's perspective. I could see why somebody else would want to decorate their place, but I'm just kind of, and that's where me and Myron are similar. You know, people think I'm a lot more extravagant than Myron. If you guys don't know, that's my brother, in case you're new here or whatever. Because people do ask sometimes, like, oh, you know, I didn't know Myron was your brother. And so Myron, you guys already know, very non-materialistic, very frugal, doesn't spend money. And it's not because he doesn't like to spend money. The dude just like doesn't fall for the goy tricks. I'll be honest. Like, he doesn't care about cars. He doesn't care about clothes. You know, like, he'll wear the same shit every day. Doesn't matter to him. You know, all that matters is that he's doing what he feels he needs to do. He's very focused on his mission. Me, I'm a little different. I don't want to say I'm minimalistic. That's crazy. Okay, that's just like, that's a far stretch. I like my nice stuff. I like my cars. I have my habits, maybe bad habits one may argue that I dabble into and I spend money on. Nothing haram, obviously, but like cars and stupid shit like that. Sometimes clothes, no designer clothes, but, you know, nice clothes, whatever. And the apartment has always been something that's missing flair for me. You know, so it wasn't horrible to begin with, but I'm walking around and I'm working from home and I'm like, damn, it's really just numb in here. It's bland, So this is like the nicest part of the apartment here, this light and this sign. So I started to add some stuff on the wall, and I gotta say, I've been missing out. They say you gotta make your place nice. It's like whatever, good juju, whatever the hell that means. It's true. You live there. That is everything. That's your essence. That's your being. And if you spend a lot of time at home, you want your home to be you. So I personalized it. I've tailored it to my likings. I put some stuff up. At first, I was like, this is gay. I'm not doing this. I'm over here making holes in the wall, hanging shit up. But over time, I've realized, like, man, I'm liking it. I'm walking around. I'm working on my work laptop, pacing around. And I'm like, this is fire. Like, I should have done this a long time ago. So I don't know if you needed to hear it. It's super random on an off note. But, if your apartment and or bedroom and or space that you live in is bland, give it some life. Now, I'm not saying, like, get the hanging hoe plants and the hanging LED lights that the hoes use in the college dorms. Like, make it look a little elegant. I'm not saying do like the LED slop mumbo jumbo nonsense, but like do something nice. Order and look, decor is expensive, bro. This plant over here that you can't see, it's about maybe 5.5 feet tall, $120. Fake plant, by the way. It's really nice. It's large. It takes up space. $120. So I just had to rip the Band-Aid off. And once I bought that and I put it in this corner that I'm looking at over here, you guys can't see it, but just use your imagination. Then I'm like, all right, let me do a little something else, There's got to be a term for this. I don't know what the term is, but when you buy something and then you keep buying the same thing, you keep buying similar things in that segment. I don't know if it's not addiction. There's got to be a term for it. Like you start buying clothes, you get a new pair of pants, and then the next day you're like, oh, I could probably use a couple new shirts. And then you start getting hoodies, and then you start getting more pants. And so like it kind of came to that with the decor, but I've slowed down now. Like I'm satisfied. But yeah, you got to fill the dead space in your apartment, man. You do. I need a plant by the light. I got a little plant right here. I got a little tiny one right there. I know I'm going to maybe do something in this space. Here's the thing. I want to do something here. Maybe like a light that shines up towards the sign. Like a spotlight, kind of like a studio light. So you're getting like a nice ray of warm light coming from this bottom right corner. But I do think that like I don't want to take away from this view here. And it doesn't help because the bright lights create a reflection in these windows, which takes away from the view. And like, so I don't like that already. I don't want to like have too much mumbo jumbo going on here and take away from me and also the windows out back. So like I'm kind of navigating that. I'm figuring that out. It's good the way it is. It's fine. But I'm a perfectionist. I like to continuously improve things. Even if you feel like you can't improve it, there's always something you can do. So, we're working on it. But it's a pretty, not complicated, but it's a well done setup. I've got 4 screens here. And that's because I stream with my brother. And so, or I'm collabing with anybody. It makes it easier for me to just like not be limited. It's functional. But yeah. So I've been decorating my place in case you happen to care, which I'm sure you don't. You probably just want to hear what's going on in the news and what Saudi Arabia is trying to chase a nuke for. So we'll do that. We'll read that article. But yeah, I'm liking it. I'm like looking over at the, what do you call the entrance area? A foyer? I hope that's the right. I don't know these things, man. I decorated that part a lot. So allegedly, like that's the most important part to decorate. So I've got some pointers. But yeah, people come over and they're like, yo, this is bland. So I'm like, all right, nigga, I guess I'll decorate it since you're bothering me about it. But yeah, that's that. It was a good day. It was a beautiful day here in Connecticut. I always talk about the weather like I'm some weatherman, but you can't help but appreciate good weather when you live in New England because for a majority of the year, the weather sucks. I don't know if any of you were in Florida or California. You guys wouldn't know what it's like to walk outside with a bubble jacket and a beanie, freezing your nuts off. Yeah. So when we get warm weather, we're very appreciative of it. But it's been gorgeous, and the next few days are going to be really nice. The last 4 or 5 weekends, it's been raining, so it's really frustrating. But this weekend is going to be gorgeous, so I can't wait. I'm also going to go watch The Odyssey this weekend with some friends. No girls, no girl, just friends, and we'll enjoy it, I'm sure. I'm hearing good things about it, so I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. And everything is just becoming political. Like, people are making it political. Everything is political. People are making soccer political. People are making The Odyssey political. can we just be goyim and enjoy, you know? And I'm doing politics right now. But like, I just like to separate those two things. People conflate it all the time, and it's like, brother. Ryad moving like a meteorologist when he talks about Connecticut weather. Because Connecticut weather is just, if you know, you know. You know, you know. Connecticut weather is so unpredictable. It's so annoying. But man, nothing is better than a bright sunny day. I hate cloudy days. My mood is noticeably worse on cloudy days. And rainy days and cold days. In the summer, I'm like happy. But anyways, Azuro says, do you like Massachusetts? Thank you for the 10, Azuro. Do you like Massachusetts? I'm from Boston and I was wondering. I do like Boston. I don't know too much about Massachusetts, though, to be honest. I don't know too much about Mass. What, Springfield, Cape Cod? There's a few other places. I've been to Boston, and that's really it. I like Boston. I think Boston is like really bland, though. There's nothing to do there, I feel. Like, just go to New York, cope. I live right outside of New York, so it makes no sense for me to ever go to Boston. Like, my boy the other day said, yo, let's go to Boston for the weekend. I said, no, nigga. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? We're a train ride away from New York. I'm literally so close to New York City, right outside. New York City has infinite amount of things to do. It's a city that never sleeps. It can be fun, especially if you plan it out right. Why would I go to Boston? Boston's also, like, I think overwhelmingly white. Not that I care, but, like, you know, I'll be where I fit in. I don't want to stick out. I don't want to be like the coon monkey, like token monkey, like, hey, guys, look at me, you know, like, I'm good. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, a lot of these Muslims on X, they're attacking me for my anti-praying in Times Square rhetoric, which has been backed by Islamic points, really. And so they say things to me in my DM like, you just want to be white so bad, you want to be down with the whites. And it's like, gang, I'm like low-key hood nigga. You wouldn't know. I don't really have that many white friends. All my friends are Hispanic and or black. You know, you think my politics are white. My politics are just honest. You know, when I talk about Times Square and Muslims praying in Times Square, it's not because I'm trying to appease to anybody. It's because Islamically it's incorrect. And I'm like not by myself on saying that. It's just incorrect. And it's like not a good idea. So, and then everybody says, you think Muslims can't pray? You think Muslims should be barred from society? It's like, way to jump the gun. Never said that. Never suggested that. I'm just using my head. God forbid I use my head. Muslims need to afford the right and the ability to pray outside when it's necessary. Like on Eid, Al-Adha, Eid al-Fitr. And so if Muslims are praying outside every day, and then we're praying outside on Eid, everybody's crying about it. Maybe if we weren't praying outside every day, when it was time to pray on Eid, people would go, oh, they need space. So, you know, there's many reasons as to why I go against that. Now I'm going into a whole different direction. Holy tangent. But yeah, I got these people saying, you hate white, you hate your own people. Like, bro, I pray, I speak Arabic. I'm proud of that. I was wearing, and like, I shouldn't even have to explain myself. Dude, like, I was wearing a traditional Sudanese garment at a wedding just a few months ago. Hanging out, having a great time. Like, you know, I'm not like, and people try to like do this, like, you're uncomfortable in your skin. It's like, I couldn't be more comfortable in my skin. I love being a nigga Arab. I love being an Arab monkey. I love that I'm odd looking. Some people look at me and they go, what's up with the Jewish nose and like the black hair, but not super coarse hair, and like the features that are not super black, but kind of Arabic. And I'm just like, that's me. That's me. I'm like that. I hone in on that. I'm Sudanese. So, you know, people try to like, you're afraid of you're ashamed of and I just sit there and laugh. And I never respond to it because it really doesn't affect me, but I just think it's comical. So, and I know there's a lot of Muslims who agree with me. I know, but you know, like, I get this all the time and it just couldn't be further from the truth. I think it's so funny, but it really doesn't, never bothers me. I'm very, very secure in myself, very comfortable in my skin. Always have been, always will be. And the hoes love me. Okay. I don't get girls. Okay. Like, I really don't. You guys can go find one of my friends. I don't get any hoes, but like, you know, women take a liking to me, and I'm not being cocky. I'm just saying, like, if you're a good looking guy, you know, if you're a good looking guy. And I don't think I'm like super hot. Like, I'm definitely very, just I think barely above average. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I got to do the Saudi Arabia article. But what I'm saying is, like, the last thing I would be is insecure in myself and uncomfortable with my skin color. It's like, gang, the hoes be staring. I'm walking down the sidewalk minding my business and the hoes be double taking. I don't get any, but they be like, you know, like, people think I'm like over here trying to LARP as a white person. And like, it's like, I'm that nigga, man. Like, I'm just me and I'm happy about it. God forbid, you know, not to be cocky, but, and I'm being funny, but I get that shit all the time. So I guess now I'm addressing it, but it's so corny. It's so corny. Alhamdulillah, I'm Muslim, I'm American. And I just balance those two things at the same time. And like, my politics end up being far more right than anything else, but that's not because I desire to have a skin color. It's because that's where my ideology falls. And I'm consistent in that. It's just, that's what it is, you know? So, and I'm telling you, you guys are like, who's he speaking to? I get like DMs every other day, like on Instagram. Somebody commented on an Instagram post on my gram and they're like, you're glazing Clav. You need to stand with the Arabs. I'm like, when did I glaze Clav? Like, what the fuck? I didn't like his Israel trip, but I'm not like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, where is this coming from? Like, people are saying I'm glazing Clav. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, deranged in my comments. Didn't respond. I didn't remove it. I think the comment is still there. I got this notification while I'm at work, while I want to literally jump off a building. I hate working so much, especially in person. And I get an Instagram notification, and it's like this dude in my comment berating me because I'm betraying the Arabs. And it's like, all right, first of all, the Arabs don't even really claim us like that, okay? If you know, you know. I'm not saying, I don't want to do like this anti-Arab thing. You know that's not me. But like, there is this like crazy argument about whether Sudanese people are Arabic or African. And the real red pill is like, we are both. But ethnically, right, from a DNA perspective, I am North African. We're just on the cusp, sub-Saharan, right, the Nile. And then I am also linguistically Arab, culturally Arab. And that's like the best way to put it. And this dude's like in my comments saying, you betrayed the Arabs. And it's like, dude, I'm not even like Arab like that. And secondly, like, how did I betray Arabs by glazing Clav? And when did I glaze Clav? I said there's some good things about Looksmaxing. Men should care about themselves more. Men don't care about themselves. Men don't. I go to the gym, niggas be smelling like shit. I go to the gym on Monday, I see the same nigga on Wednesday, he's got the same draws on. And I guarantee I didn't see him on Tuesday, but he had those same draws on when he's bent over, changing the weight on his machine. And I'm like, this nigga's dirty. Like, men don't care about themselves. How many men don't floss before they fall asleep? How many men don't brush their teeth before they go to bed and wake up in the morning and actually use mouthwash? I know so many people who are just, and it ends up being men who could benefit from like taking care of themselves. So God forbid, once upon a time, I think on Sneako's stream, I was like, yeah, there, you know, Looksmaxing has its benefits. I'll give him his credit there. You know, he's passionate about it, whatever. But a lot of men could benefit from, I'm not with the makeup and stuff. That's nuts. I would never sponsor that. I would never endorse that. But, you know, losing weight, getting a good haircut, grooming yourself constantly, fixing your teeth, you know, fixing weak points of your face. And why would you not do that? So, and then somebody try to like berate me for it. So I get this all the time. But anyways, all right. So we spoke about decorations and then the weather and then we just went crazy. So I'll actually get into this story. We'll talk about what's going on in Iran right now. I have this uploaded or in front of me by the New York Times. Yeah, I did the New York Times article. I uploaded it. So we'll get into this very quickly. Again, more or less the same. And there's some new developments with the Houthis in the Red Sea attacking Saudi vessels or Saudi-owned oil vessels. So that's interesting, and I think that's going to have a real effect on the world economy. Already has. Oil has now reached $100 a barrel. So we're back to the February and March numbers. Gotta love it. But here, let me catch up on these chats really quickly. And then, am I going to play GTA 6? Yeah, when it comes out. All right, Nav says, do you read or is reading gay? No, of course I read. Reading's not gay. Reading is not gay. Muhid says, the House of Saud is the cause of the Muslim century of humiliation. Those bastards turned on Palestinians for a nuke in 10 years. Yeah, well, they didn't. Well, it's not official yet. But yeah, I mean, I'll go over that in 1 second. MD says, MD doesn't say anything. Thank you for the one gifted. And then Ivan Leo says, what about the hot Asian? Who's the hot Asian? I don't understand your question. Add some context for me so I know what you mean. And to Mahid's point, yeah, look, I'll just say this about the, Suleiman and I were talking about this. We had a good discussion about the Middle East and the Muslims. And, me and Sneako disagree on this. Sneako says this is a holy war. And I say, no, it's not. And the reason why, allow me to explain why I don't think it's a holy war. I think there's a spiritual element, of course, that's unavoidable. And there's rabbinical commentary talking about how there's a spiritual element to it. Ishmael versus Itzhak and all this. Like, these rabbis say this. I get it. But you got to think about the state of the Muslims in the Ummah right now. Not one country in the Middle East is like even aligned in the slightest. You know that? Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Iran are 3 Muslim countries, and all 3 of them hate each other. No matter which way you intersect, they all hate each other. Saudi Arabia has its own real ideology and or goal and mission in the Middle East. And so they have their proxy groups and their vested interests in certain areas. And on the opposing side is the UAE that has a loose security axis with Israel. They are all over Israel. And then again, they're also fighting Saudi for influence in the Middle East as well. Saudi also normalizes relations loosely and vaguely with Israel and has never really condemned them or done anything for the military occupation in Gaza and the West Bank, which they allegedly have been condemning. But really, what have we seen of that condemnation besides mere words? And it's the same thing with the UAE. UAE doesn't say anything. Qatar is like always fence riding. Egypt, fence riding. Turkey, fence riding. These are all Muslim countries. And then you've got the only Muslim country fighting back, Iran. And Iran is Shiite. And all the other countries that I just listed are Sunni. And so like the Ummah is not together. For a holy war, what necessitates a holy war in my mind when I'm thinking about it eschatologically, when I'm thinking about it from a theological perspective and what we're told in Islam with the end times and the signs of the end times, the Muslims will be united. So the Mahdi will come and then all the Muslims will be on the same page. Until then, the Muslims are severely fractured, which is what weakens us greatly. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not parading that. I'm just telling you what it is. And so when they say it's a holy war, I'm like, bro, what holy war? The crown prince has got his feet kicked up in his royal palace, making billions of dollars a day, while Palestinians are being shot in the head trying to get food and being exploded from the sky. I just saw a video yesterday of 2 Palestinian people in the front of a car, one in the passenger, one in the driver's seat, and they were charred, like literally charred. To the point where if you were to grab the bodies, like pieces would break off. And you've got on the other side of the Gulf, Muslim Arabs living brilliantly, easily, with no real issues. And I'm not against that. I'm not saying every Muslim should struggle. I'm just saying, like, where is the unity in the Ummah? Like, yeah, there's some outcry for Palestine. Also, what's happening in Sudan is arguably worse than what's happening in Gaza and Palestine, by the fucking way. Who talks about that? Crown Prince speaks to Trump 2 months ago at a summit or at some conference hearing and says, hey, I really want you to help me out in Sudan. And as I speak to you now the UN is finally recognizing there was a genocide in Sudan. Now it's considered the worst humanitarian crisis in Sudan. Sudan is a majority Muslim country. I think it's around 20 million people. Majority Muslim Sunni country. Egypt is right across, sharing that same famous river, the Nile River. What have they done? Taken in Palestinians or taken in Sudanese people and then complained about it? And I'm not trying to shit on Egypt, but it's just, I don't see the holy war. The Ummah is more fractured than it ever could be. And the Ummah means the Muslim nation, the Muslims as a whole. And so like, it's just, there is no, and so to your super chat, yeah, it's like, this is the state of the world. This is what it is. And there is nothing surprising to me about the GCC and the Gulf countries and all these very influential and economically powerful Gulf countries ignoring the plight of the Palestinian people and the genocide of the Sudanese people and everything else happening across the Muslim world as well. You know, no one cares. It's an ummah, obviously, but it's fractured to bits. And so that's why me and Suleiman were saying, you know, no more sectarianism, no more Salafist that, Athari that, Ash'ari that, all of these different creeds and fiqh and all of these different ideologies and sects. We are Muslims, period. We're Muslims, and that's what it should be. But it's just bad. It's just bad. It's horrible. And now this article is a perfect segue from what I'm saying to further cement my point, which is the fact that Saudi Arabia is trying to do a deal with the United States and That deal is potentially going to give them a 30-year-long nuclear program. So here, I'll read this for you guys. It hasn't really been that big of a story in the news, but we'll go over it. So there's two parts to this. I'll cover what happened yesterday. Let's see if they have that article here. If not, I'll just tell you before we read this. So for the last week and yesterday, and before yesterday, the story broke out that the United States is going to do some sort of civilian nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, and once they sign on the dotted line, it would last for the next 30 years. And what this does is cement Saudi Arabia as a potential nuclear threat. At some point in the future, vaguely it does. And simply put, this can motivate other countries to want to get a nuke, but the benefit in that is that Israel will no longer be the only nuclear power in the Middle East, at least for now. They are, but later on they wouldn't be. Technically, right? Maybe Saudi Arabia wants to get a nuke, and the Crown Prince has been telling the media since 2017 and 2018 that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they do, I will 100% race to a nuclear weapon. Obviously, Saudi Arabia and Iran, despite these informal normalizations they've had over the last few years, are still adversaries. No doubt about it, and there's tons of history between the two nations as enemies, more than anything else. And so if Iran gets a nuke, then I'm going to get a nuke. That's the words of the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. And now we're seeing Donald Trump broker a potential deal to give Saudi Arabia exactly that. All the stipulations I'm not too familiar with, but that's what he's doing. And when we all saw this yesterday, and I told you guys this last week, it seems that Trump is trying to stick a leg in Israel. He's trying to make them feel as if, though, they don't have all the cards, and I can turn my back on you at any moment and give anybody else the same threatening power that you solely possess in the Middle East, which is some sort of nuclear capability. And so it was kind of like, oh, this is good because now this offers a checks and balances system in the Middle East where we don't have this disproportionately tiny strip of land being able to send the entire region into blackness within a moment's notice, which would be any sort of nuclear bomb, these nuclear warheads that they have, 200, 300 plus, there's different numbers. So now today, Trump completely switches. And you simply cannot be surprised at this anymore. So remember what I was saying. It seems as if though Trump is doing a deal with Saudi Arabia to put Israel on their heels, make them realize they're not his only priority in the Middle East, broker deals with the Arabs, kind of even out the power structure within the Middle East, take away some autonomy from Israel and their ability to bully everybody and do what they want without any consequence. Because if you're the only nuclear power, what is there to fear? There is no real mutually assured destruction. If Israel wanted to bomb Iran right now and nuke them, technically they could, and Iran really wouldn't have anything to respond with because they don't have a nuke. And so you got that whole situation, and Trump says this today. And it's just like, okay. He tweets this on Truth Social or posts this on Truth Social, whatever you would even say. The civil nuclear deal, there will be no enrichment of material being made between the United States Department of Energy and Saudi Arabia, which pertains only to non-military use such as the ones that Iran and UAE and others already have, will be approved, but is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords. He almost had us. He almost had us. And I'm kind of against the idea in totality. I don't think it's a good idea to just start giving everybody nukes. Like, just because Israel has nukes doesn't mean everybody needs to get nukes. I think that actually makes the matter worse and makes things a lot more fragile, believe it or not. Because let's just be real, it's the Middle East. If every country has nukes, think about this for a moment. If every country has nukes in the Middle East, have you ever seen no tension flare up in the Middle East since the creation of Israel? I don't think we have. Since 1948, since really the early 1900s, since Theodore Herzl and his ideology of Zionism, since the very beginning in its inception in the late 1800s, early 1900s, moving all the way until 48, 56, 73, all the different conflicts within the Middle East, we've never seen peace. And between all of these major wars and or years that I'm labeling out to you, there's always conflict in between. There is never peace. If every country had a nuke or was trying to obtain a nuke, certainly there'd be nuclear war. Maybe here in the West, we wouldn't have that problem because we all kind of get along to some degree, but that's because we all recognize each other and don't hate one particular country for effectively stealing land from a group of people over the course of several decades leading up until today in 2026, and then brutally occupying them militarily and shelling them from the sky for almost 3 years now and killing 100,000, half of which being under the age of 18. We don't really have that in the West. So like, we're not all like aiming missiles at one another or aiming missiles at that country or always talking bad about that country and kind of floating around this negative rhetoric of violence. That's never really the case here. But in the Middle East, that's certainly the case. And so every country having some sort of nuclear capability in the Middle East is catastrophic. And it is a recipe for full-out nuclear disaster. That's just what it is. That's my opinion. That's my analysis on it. So Trump says, look, we were talking about the deal for a long time, but they've got to sign the Abraham Accords. And if you're unfamiliar with the Abraham Accords, it is pretty much the formal recognition and normalization of any country with Israel. And there's a few countries that are already on that list, and we can see them listed here if we pull up the Wikipedia. So the Abraham Accords are a set of agreements that establish diplomatic normalization between Israel and several Arab states, beginning with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, announced in August and September of 2020 and signed in Washington, D.C. on September 15, 2022. The accords were mediated by the United States under President Donald Trump, of course, because he's the biggest catalyst of enabling Israel. The UAE and Bahrain became the first Arab countries to formally recognize Israel since Jordan in '94. In the months that followed, Sudan and Morocco also agreed to normalize relations with Israel, and we can see the countries here. And there's several more that are unofficial, but they are on this list effectively for all intents and purposes. They might as well be. And so Saudi Arabia is the real last big power to join this list, and Saudi Arabia is the most influential country in the Middle East. They obviously have Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, and they have Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. Both of these cities being significant in Islam, the two holiest sites, the third holiest site being Masjid al-Aqsa in Al-Quds, or what is known as in English, Jerusalem. So, you know, not only is it a big deal if Saudi Arabia joins the Abraham Accords, it pretty much neutralizes any ability for diplomacy against Israeli encroachment upon borders for the greater foreseeable future from any other country that wants to try and do so, because Saudi Arabia is already on board. And if you don't remember, part of the reason Hamas invaded Israel on October 7th was because they anticipated Saudi Arabia was about to sign the Abraham Accords, in which they were. And so, obviously, the Palestinian question was going to be buried far beneath the ground and never being able to be retrieved again if those Abraham Accords are signed by somebody as influential as the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And so, as a result, they attacked, and that actually pushed the Accords back. Why? Because now Saudi Arabia has no choice but to say, well, you are like bombing Palestinians and killing them with no end. And so it would be highly unpopular and make no sense for Saudi Arabia to actually do the deal with Israel and normalize relations as they're genociding Palestinians. And by the way, the Saudis have always called for a two-state solution in some way. I'm not saying they're heroes or anything, but they always have actually called for some sort of two-state solution. And the Crown Prince has said time and time again that the Palestinians do need their own state. They do need at least their own sovereignty, no more brutal military occupation. And so there's some acknowledgement. Is there enough? Absolutely not. But I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not going to lie. And so they've called for that to some degree. But obviously, that all falls in the face of the fact that they were about to do a deal and normalize diplomacy with Israel entirely on paper, by the way. So that's the big thing there. And now it looks like we're edging close to it again. So here's this article by the New York Times. And this reads, Trump administration, president demands for Saudis to recognize Israel, puts nuclear deal in doubt. So let's see, is this just a video? No, we got an article here. A day after the United States signed a landmark nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia, President Trump added a new condition to the sale of nuclear reactors to the kingdom, declaring that the entire arrangement now depends on the Saudi willingness to establish diplomatic relations with Israel. And like, before I continue, I've really shat on Trump and this administration. And people go, Ryad, chill, you're sounding like a liberal. I'm sorry. What else could I possibly do? Well, what else is realistic for me to say on this show? I have to tell you guys how I feel. I have to tell you the truth. I have to be consistent. Trump has been the main catalyst for Israeli power. He has enabled them in ways that historically they have not been enabled, at least in such a short period of time. In these just few months, really this year, Donald Trump has completely revolutionized and changed Israeli influence and or power in the United States and in the Middle East. He's signed executive orders and he's done deals and he's done legislation to pretty much prosecute people who say anything against Israel that don't have citizenship and get them deported, like these students in the beginning of the year at all these Ivy League universities. Trump has also told anybody that if they say anything anti-Semitic, I think it was the case that in any case of natural disaster, any state or city that is to have havoc wreaked upon it by a tornado, they wouldn't get any aid if there's any history of anti-Semitism. Trump has been a catalyst. He's propped these ideas forward. He's made them real. You know, he's put them on paper. Now we have Section 219 of the United States and Israel integrating technology and defense and security. All of this integration is going to now Israel's going to have real influence in the Pentagon more than they ever have. Again, this is under Trump's administration. He started a war in Iran. That doesn't even need any explanation there. You kind of get how bad that is. Serves no purpose for the United States. I mean, what has this war done besides just make everything expensive for you? Okay, war is bad, but maybe there's a benefit of war that can benefit the people who are starting the war. That's why they're starting it. Okay, where's the benefit here in the United States? We are paying war tax every single time we leave the house. Every single time you see the gas go up, every single time you see groceries go up, every single time you see everything else follow as a result, because when energy goes up, when energy is short, everything will follow: rent, mortgage, tax, etc. And so when these things are higher and young people are already complaining, the number one issue politically in the United States for like the last 4 or 5 years, or really the last couple decades, was affordability on everything. Affordability. We need affordability. And Trump campaigned on affordability. He just started a war with Iran, which is against everything that encompasses affordability. And it's straining the U.S. economic market as a result. And the whole entire world is about to enter an energy crisis because the Houthis are now jamming up another 12% of oil that could pass through the Bab al Mandeb Strait. That is the only real strait left to make it into the Arabian Sea or the Indian Ocean. And so Asia is going to face extreme oil shortages and an energy crisis as a result, and Europe probably will follow suit very closely after that as well. And we are reaching a record low level of strategic petroleum reserves. And so, like, you know, all of these people are saying you're always attacking Trump, you're always shitting on Trump. What am I supposed to do? Trump has glazed and helped Israel in everything. He unseated Thomas Massie, the only guy in Congress to actually say something against Israel and what they were doing in Gaza. That was one of the only guys, one of the few guys. They kicked his ass out, and he was a Republican, by the way. And he was mad because he opposed the Big Beautiful Bill, because the Big Beautiful Bill wasn't really America first. And Thomas Massie said that, and he called him out on it. And then he created this personal beef with Trump, and Trump is hell-bent on revenge. So he went and got him back. And even at that cost to get him back, he didn't care. He signed up with AIPAC, and he teamed up with AIPAC and unseated him in Kentucky like 2 months ago. So, you know, and now he's trying to do a deal with the Saudis, and we see it at first, and we go, okay, more nuclear power in the Middle East. This is going to piss Israel off. This is definitely political. We love it. And now it's like, oh, but it's contingent upon them actually normalizing diplomacy with Israel. And it's like, so this is for Israel. This is for Israel because it's unbelievably beneficial for Israel if Saudi Arabia joins the Abraham Accords. You do recognize that, right? They pretty much won over Islam if they do that. Politically, they have, obviously not from a populist perspective. Obviously, nobody likes Israel, especially Muslims. But you get what I'm saying. They get Saudi Arabia on board. That's huge. And Trump is now trying to broker that deal in the midst of a war with Iran. So it's just like he's handing out the money to Israel. He's handing out all the wins. Trump is Israel. How many times have I said Israel in that, last 5 minutes? But it's crazy. So, and there's a bunch of other things that I'm not even remembering right now, but it's just been horrendous. It's been horrendous. And he's playing nice with the Syrian leader because he's opening up his airspace to Israel. Trump has done nothing against them. Everything he does against Israel is a paper tiger. He actually never defies them, ever. And he never will. He literally never will. And now they're running cover for Epstein, and Epstein was a Mossad asset belonging to Israel and Israeli intelligence. J.D. Vance just said on Joe Rogan, Epstein obviously had connections to the highest degrees of Israeli intelligence. Okay. So it's all winning for Israel. He's enabled them at a record level. The deal is totally subject to Saudi Arabia joining the very respected and successful Abraham Accords, Mr. Trump said in a post on social media site referring to a series of agreements that normalize relations between Israel and other Arab states, including Bahrain and the UAE. There was no mention of any such condition in the administration's announcement that the deal had been signed on Wednesday, and the text of the deal had not been released. But Mr. Trump's social media post put the agreement's immediate future in doubt. The Saudi government has made clear it has no intention of recognizing Israel without creating a pathway towards the creation of a Palestinian state, as I told you guys earlier. Mr. Trump's post did not address the Saudi government's conditions for establishing diplomatic ties with Israel. Saudi officials have not responded to repeated requests for comment, for obvious reason, right? Because Trump just backdoored them. When a reporter pressed Carolyn Leavitt, the White House spokeswoman, on why condition was not mentioned in the announcement of the deal on Wednesday, that was yesterday before we got this whole Israel angle. And it says here, she said the president was the final deal maker and had mentioned the need for Saudi Arabia to join the accords on numerous occasions. She was definitive, and Jared Kushner as well. She was definitive on the president's terms. If they don't join the Abraham Accords, the deal is off, Ms. Leavitt said. In linking the deal to diplomatic recognition of Israel, Mr. Trump is veering back to the plan that President Joseph R. Biden, why did they put his whole govy like that? Just say Joe Biden. Joseph R. Biden. Oh, Joseph R. Biden Jr. attempted in the first years of his administration, making nuclear cooperation part of a larger diplomatic understanding that changed the dynamics of the Middle East. But the plan fell apart after the October 7th attacks on Israel by Hamas, and Mr. Trump later divorced the nuclear agreement from the diplomatic efforts. He has now reversed himself, but only after his energy secretary, Chris Wright, signed the deal with Saudi Arabia's energy minister. Mr. Wright indicated that the deal would now be impeached. It's like all a dream after November. That's why it's on my mind. Mr. Wright indicated that the deal would now be sent to Congress for review, but presumably Mr. Trump could hold up its transmission while he argues with the Saudis over the new condition. Not surprisingly, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel warmly greeted Mr. Trump's demand that the Saudis normalize relations with Israel. Like I said, guys, they have been begging and dreaming of this. The joint American and Israeli military actions against the genocidal regime in Tehran and Israel's crushing of Iran's terror axis have created the possibility to expand the circle of peace, aka cucking for Israel, is what they really should say. He said in a statement, as President Trump has said, Saudi Arabia's joining of the Abraham Accords would be a historic leap forward for peace in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia's Center for International Communication did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Mr. Trump's demand. Mr. Trump also asserted that the terms of the deal would not allow Saudi Arabia to enrich its own nuclear material, offering no further explanation while the agreement has not been made public. Officials have described it very differently, saying that it allows for a 2-year study period during which Saudi and American officials will determine if there is enough viable economic path for the kingdom to enrich nuclear fuel. The United States could block that move for a number of years, according to officials familiar with the arrangement, but not permanently. As I said earlier, there is no real write-off of the fact that Saudi Arabia could change everything and make it non-civilian focused in maybe the next 10 or 15 years. Like I said, it's a 30-year deal. The United States cannot... we read that. Mr. Trump argued otherwise. There will be no enrichment of material, he stated, adding that the United States is not opposed to civil non-enriched nuclear facilities. The potential that Saudi Arabia could make its own fuel and the risk that some of it could be diverted to a nuclear weapons project in the future lies at the core of criticism of the deal. But the country's de facto leader, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is unlikely to give up the right to enrich or agree to the most intrusive international inspections that more than 140 other nations have already signed. Mr. Trump's statements come after Israeli leaders voiced concerns over the emerging deal, worrying that it could fuel a regional arms race, by the way it would, and the implication of Israel being sidestepped in the process. But Mr. Trump's newly stated condition could create a roadblock to the deal itself, as Saudi officials have repeatedly stated that they will not recognize Israel without a pathway towards a Palestinian state. Mr. Trump has previously pushed to expand the Abraham Accords agreements he began brokering during his first term between Israel and Bahrain and the Emirates were announced in 2020. Since then, Morocco and Sudan have joined the pact. El Sudan. Okay, sorry, I had some chats here. I'll read these and then we'll see what else is going on. Mr. Ferdinand W. Ryad liked the video. Thank you so much. Yeah, like the video if you haven't already, guys. Helps me out. One Chest says, no excuse to be fat in 2026. Shame if you're fat. Yeah, get with One Chest. He's the official trainer of our community. Help you ascend and get shredded. Pop the link in there, One Chest, while I'm looking. I'll pin it for you. And then, brother, black Muslims have always been marginalized. Sudan and Somalia. Yeah, I mean, Sudan is land of the blacks, right? A Sudan. That's what it translates to from Arabic. But I don't like to do like the whole victimization, like, oh, the Arabs oppressed us. Like, nigga, no one's oppressing me. Does anyone else get that, like, anyone else get angry? Like, I'm not carrying a chip on my shoulder because some Arabic calls me like an abid or a zinji or something, you know? Which is like the N word with the hard R in Arabic. Like, I'm not, like, you're not going to oppress me, you know? That's why I refuse to, like, do the whole victimization, like, people are being racist against me thing. I don't even entertain it because, like, I have so much belief. I have so much self-confidence. I'm, like, not concerned with the fact that somebody doesn't like me for my skin color. By the way, that shows how dumb they are. If you dislike somebody solely because they aren't what you are in terms of their skin versus, like, who they are and what they say and what they do, their behavior, their actions, if you really decide on how you feel about somebody contingent upon their looks and their skin, yeah, you're obviously stupid and you're not to be taken seriously, which is why I don't take those people seriously. Let's see. But yeah, so that's the situation. So it's like I said, it's crazy because in the beginning it seemed like, oh, you know, Trump's being kind of base. He's doing deals with everybody else behind Israel's back. He doesn't care anymore. Maybe the Axios articles are true. Maybe he is yelling at Netanyahu. And then 2 seconds later, Trump chickens out. Taco, Trump always chickens out. And he says, wait, but you got to sign the accords. And it's like every single time he does the same thing. At first, it seems real. At first, it's based. And then immediately he switches up and it favors Israel in some way. Hasn't that been the story? You know, the 12-day war, Trump ended it by bombing Iran and saying, okay, that's it. That's enough. He was in and out. Obviously, he didn't want to do it. It seemed like that at least. And so we were like, okay, Trump kind of got forced into a corner. Israel putting us in a bad position. I'm not going to say Trump is good for that, but at least he didn't start a full-scale war, which he could have done at that time. And then he bombs Iran on February 28th. So he comes off like he's doing the right thing. He comes off like he has no choice. He comes off like, oh, maybe he's kind of, you know, with us, and then immediately betrays us. So if anybody's getting the call, it's Trump. Because one day he's doing a deal with Saudi Arabia and saying, we're going to give you the biggest, baddest weapons. I know that wasn't the deal. It was a civilian deal. And then the next day he's going, wait, but you have to be best friends with Israel, please. And it's like, is somebody calling him? Like, why the switcheroo? Where was this in the article? Where was this in the papers the last week? The last week I was reading about this deal, it was just talking about the 2-year study. It was talking about how it may merge into something different depending on their soil. It was talking about the fact that Trump wants to do a deal with Saudi Arabia. Trump is moving away from Israel. Trump is giving other countries influence and power and closer U.S. relations, integration, all that good stuff. And then he turns around last second before the Saudis signed their name on the dotted line. He said, wait, I have to add one stipulation to the contract. Can you glaze Israel, please? Can you please glaze Israel? And no surprise. No surprise at all. So the White House tweeted that today. And I responded to the tweet. And I was just saying, not surprised at all. You know, and I did think it was weird that he did the deal. I said I found it odd that Trump did the deal with Saudi alone, assuming he was trying to defy Israel. Now we know what this is really about. So is Saudi Arabia going to sign the deal? I don't think so. I think it's unlikely. But we'll just have to wait and see. We can never really trust these Gulf countries entirely or hope that they'll be good. Hope that they'll do the right thing. That'd be a far cry from reality. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's unlikely, though, if you were to ask my opinion. I think it's unlikely. So let's see. Let's see what we have here. Let's get into the updates for the war. War. All we got is war. No, but I will say, the war, okay, for April and May, obviously things were stagnant because of the ceasefire and then the MOU. But there were no real like escalations. There were slight, back and forths between the US and Iran, especially in the Strait. But that's what it's all been about. The part that the United States cannot sit with in all of these peace negotiations, all of this MOU nonsense, all of this buffer, all of this temporary no striking each other situation, the part that the United States cannot seem to deal with, the part that pains Trump and pains this administration, is Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz. It's that simple. That's what we cannot deal with. And so this second phase of these really bad escalations, by the way, we're threatening to hit civilian infrastructure, in which we already have. We've already hit bridges. Now power plants are effectively next on the list. After that, that's the only step to really take, or the only path to go from there. And that guarantees retaliatory strikes on our Gulf nations, which are allied with us. But this is different than the beginning. In the beginning, in March, it was bombing inland Iran. It was all hell broke loose. It was the United States was going to completely change the regime, destroy the country from in out, from bottom up, change the regime, plant somebody in the top. That's really what it was. But then we couldn't afford to stay in the war because it was just way too disastrous for us. It was too attritional. And at the same time, our allies were being hit every single time we targeted Iran. And so we put them in the crosshairs with our aggression. And obviously, economically, that's disastrous for the fact that they export oil, and Iran is controlling the waterway in which a lot of their oil travels through and stopping them from getting through. And if they were to get through, Iran's going to make a very pretty penny. And so as a result of this, Saudi Arabia has utilized a pipeline going westward towards the Red Sea that now the Houthis, another proxy group belonging to Iran, Ansar Allah, has now clogged up and started targeting Saudi oil vessels for. And so now the only way the Gulf was able to circumvent the matter and still make money on their export of oil and export of goods has now effectively been cut off by Iran again. And I said this was a trump card that they would utilize, but the bigger thing to understand is the second phase of this war is for a battle of the Strait. And Marco Rubio and other officials in the administration have said that what Iran is doing is illegal according to international law, and you can't block an international waterway and things like this. And it's like, bro, the bar is pretty low here. We're talking about Iran. They're a rogue nation. They're sanctioned by everybody. They're Shiites. I don't think they really care about international waterways and international law. And I'm not saying they're like monsters. I'm not saying they're like completely disregarding human life and law, but at the same time, it's like, they are facing an existential threat from the likes of the United States and Israel. I think it's sensible for them to try and clog up that waterway just from their perspective. What else would they try and do? Fight us back? They don't even have ICBMs. They don't even have missiles that can reach the United States. What else are they supposed to do? And so in leveraging this waterway strategically against the United States, it's proved very difficult for us to keep the war up without upsetting the people here in the U.S. because of raised prices and the fact that reserves for oil and energy is running low, especially for us. And the Strait is not even something that directly affects us because we don't get our exports from there. We don't import anything from the Strait of Hormuz or the Gulf nations. But even then, it's still hurting us. And so you can imagine all the countries in the East, in Asia, in Europe, they're probably feeling it a little bit more than us with an added effect or flare. And so the second part of this war is to get the Strait back. And we're trying to undermine Iran and get the Strait back. And by the way, a part of the MOU was that Iran would control the Strait until we broker an entire deal. And in the middle of that 60-day buffer period where we agreed to allow Iran to control the Strait, just don't charge the ships, open the Strait, please just open the Strait and we'll do the 60-day buffer, we still tried to undermine that too. And so effectively, and I'm not trying to sound like an IRGC spokesperson, but we stabbed them in the back again. And so now the next time we somehow make it to the table for diplomacy, which hopefully is coming up soon, Iran is going to concede on even less. And we are going to have to make even further concessions because we've stabbed them in the back again. And this comes all after, in the beginning, killing their supreme leader. So this is what it says here. American forces began striking Iran for the 13th night in a row in the early hours of Friday local time amid reports that Iranian officials had rejected a U.S. ceasefire proposal carried to Tehran by the leader of Iraq. Little was known about either the rejected proposal or the target of the latest rounds of strikes, but both developments appear to make clear that the end to hostilities is not close at hand. U.S. forces started another night of strikes against Iranian military targets at 6:45 p.m. Eastern today. U.S. CENTCOM, which oversees operations in the Middle East, said in a statement that means the strikes would have been happening at 2:15 a.m. local time. The goal, the statement said, was to hold Iran accountable and diminish threats from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to commercial shipping. And that's kind of the story. That's what we've been saying. We're going to guard the Strait. We're going to make sure there's maritime safety and traffic can flow through. But really, it's because we want to secure the Strait because economically we can't afford Iran to capitalize on it. It's too lucrative for them, as well as a few other things. Official Iranian media reported that the U.S. missiles had struck several locations around the capital of Iran's oil-rich Khuzestan province. Earlier in the day, Iranian and Iraqi officials said that Iran had Iran had rejected a ceasefire proposal from President Trump that was presented by Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi of Iraq, which Trump just met with a couple days ago. We covered that. Iran's top negotiator, General Mohammad Bagir Ghalibaf, told local news outlets that there was no need for another mediator. The problem is not passing messages, Mr. Ghalibaf said. The problem is America's outlook. With the ceasefire reached last month seemingly little more than a piece of paper now, and an Iranian ally in Yemen threatening to expand the fight to the Red Sea, oil markets shuttered on Thursday, which they have expanded the fight to the Red Sea. We're going to look at that right now. The price of oil hit $100 a barrel for the first time since May, after the Iranian allies, the Houthi militants in Yemen, claimed to have struck 2 Saudi tankers in the Red Sea. That stoked fears that, like the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has effectively shut down to traffic, the Red Sea transit route might also be choked off. The Houthi strikes were the first since the group announced a blockade on Saudi ships this week. The Saudi government confirmed they strike on one ship but not the other. Brutal. Last month, after the preliminary truce between the United States and Iran was reached, the price of Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, dipped, but it has inched up again since the fighting resumed, and oil prices are now 40% higher than they were before the war started in February. And by the way, we were seeing promising returns. I think 2 weeks ago, oil was $73. Not I think, I know. Now it's $100. So the steady escalation of the conflict over the past 2 weeks provided the backdrop for a vote in the House of Representatives on Thursday that, for a second time, directed Mr. Trump to seek congressional authorization to keep U.S. troops engaged in the war. Mr. Trump effectively ignored a similar rebuke last month, and later on Thursday, Republicans in the Senate blocked the measure from passing. Of course they did. So, you know, more or less the same. The Houthis are mobilizing, and they're starting to destroy Saudi oil tankers, as we can see here. There's some video evidence. Not the highest quality video, but what are we expecting here? So there's that. Okay. And then also, here are U.S. strikes, allegedly on the border crossing facility in Smotrich, Western Iran.
طقوا الشلامسة طقونا بخابروا يا زمين طقونا لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله هذا البرج.
And the strikes are moving more in. So there's that, which is not good. Diplomacy is just walking farther and farther away from reality. And then here we have here. You have to be careful with the Hormuz letter. They kind of are odd sometimes, but it's worth showing. New footage leaked by someone in the Jordanian military shows the moment an Iranian ballistic missile directly hit King Faisal Air Base in Jordan. So you can see the interceptors as well. I believe you can. So there's that. And the interceptors are just not doing their job. And it's super asymmetric. For us to stop these missiles, we need several interceptors to stop one. And this isn't even Iran's like top missiles. So really not the best situation in Iran. Let's see what Ben Shapiro had to say. I think he spoke about the war. I think Tucker responded to this tweet, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll pull that up while we watch this. I didn't watch this yet, but I was waiting for a stream to actually take a look at it. So let's see what Ben Shapiro had to say.
I get why people are confused and upset. It feels like things are stalemated, that they're getting broader and more difficult. Why? Well, because what the American people want is victory. There's this bizarre notion in foreign policy that the American people are deeply worried about the immediate cost of war to the enemy. That the American people, that we can't handle the ugliness of war for even a day. That every conflict has to be totally antiseptic. And here I'm not even talking about the American willingness to undergo casualties. No one in America wants American casualties. It's a tragedy and a horror. We do understand that war does come along with casualties, and we are willing to undergo those casualties in pursuit of an end and a victory for America.
Victory for America is nuts. This is not a victory for America. A victory for America, you want to hear the real red pill? A victory for America is Iran staying in power, because Iran poses no threat to the United States at all. What, the sleeper agents? I'm yet to see them. And by the way, if they magically appear now, well, we've given them a reason to do so. So I'm sorry, exactly what's the whole goal here? If there was any time where Iran was dangerous to the United States, it would have never been prior to the war, it had been after, because we killed their supreme leader. And so this might be a situation where Iran says an eye for an eye is necessary. And so could there be a sleeper agent? Could there be some terrorist attack by Iran against U.S. personnel or anything like that? I mean, it's not out of the picture. It's not out of the realms of possibility. It's plausible, and that would be a direct consequence of starting this war for no reason. So no, this is not a win for America, and it's an L as well because of the fact that now Israel has no one to check their power in the Middle East. What will they do with that power? What will they do with that freedom? I think we all know what they would like to do with that freedom and power. They want Saudi Arabia on the Abraham Accords. Why? If they're not insecure about their power, if they're not insecure about their influence, why do they want Saudi Arabia, the most powerful and influential country in the Middle East, to be on the Abraham Accords? It's because they are insecure about their influence and power, and they want to make sure no big, strong country with a strong economy and two of the holiest sites in Islam is opposing them. That's advantageous for them to be on the right side of that country, not disadvantageous. So, I mean, the facts are the facts, and in the face of what Ben Shapiro's saying, they just completely debunk everything. But to me, no one watches him anymore. I don't think anybody believes his rhetoric anymore. So, like, it's increasingly becoming less necessary for me to even do this debunking. But I always wonder, what is he thinking before he goes on about, like, how can I defend the Iran war today? You know how tough it must be to wake up as an American, alleged American, and defend the war in Iran? All these people that are defending the war in Iran are losing so much favorability, so much credibility. We see exactly where they stand when they do it. So it's just, to me, it's like, how does he wake up and find a way to do this? And how does he do it without laughing at himself? I would never be able to look at myself in the mirror spewing out such lies and disgusting rhetoric. Because this is the rhetoric that gets U.S. servicemen killed. This is why 3 U.S. soldiers just died in the last week. Because we're in a war for Israel. Obviously. Why is it that every single time Mark Levin is parading Trump, it's because he's bombing the shit out of Iran, and every single time Mark Levin is condemning Trump, it's because he's seizing hostilities and looking for diplomacy? Do you need any more signs? And by the way, it's not enough. Did you see the other day some picture went viral of an Israeli Telegram chat where they sent a picture of the U.S. serviceman, the lady that died, the U.S. Army soldier that died? And in that picture under it was a Hebrew caption translated to, "This is the price you pay for not serving Israel," or something like that along those lines. This is the price that Donald Trump will pay. And they sent her picture, and the majority reaction, you know how there's the different emojis of reactions to everybody in the chat to that photo? Everybody was laughing at her. This is a U.S. soldier that was killed in action by a strike in Jordan, I believe at the Muwaffaq Salti Air Base. And the Israelis are laughing and saying, that's what Trump gets. That's what the United States gets. More dead U.S. soldiers. More. This is what they want. That's what they're ordering, is more dead U.S. soldiers. They like it. So you would think that, like, and this is what I'm telling you. This is how extreme it is. I'm over here telling you the United States, and really Trump, is serving Israel at a level that we really haven't seen before. Not this many W's for Israel in a short period of time. The United States has reached a record level glaze for Israel. And what are they saying in Israel? The Israelis, the populace, what's the rhetoric floating around in Israel? Trump is not doing enough. He's a traitor. We need somebody who's more loyal, more dead U.S. service members. I'm sorry. What does a country filled with people like that do when Iran no longer exists? I'd love for you to try and think that through. Tell me what would happen. Anything positive? Desert Joe, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Thank you so much, Desert Joe. Big support of the show. God bless you, man. So, it's just unbelievable. It is actually unbelievable, like that word, unbelievable.
But as far as the idea that, for example, America, we can't hit Kharg Island because the Iranian people would then be deprived of oil resources. The American people are, I should say, not particularly concerned about that.
Like, what kind of crazy genocidal rhetoric is that? The Iranian people, who have nothing to do with the IRGC, nothing to do at all, deserve to starve and be plummeted into darkness so that Israel can have more power. This is what they are saying. You know, like, you would think he kind of crafts his ideas before he gets on his stupid fucking show and says, what can I say that's a little bit vague and like can fool an American? But it's just straight up like, fuck you to any American who's watching it. Fuck you to any service member. That's what it is. He's not even like softening it. It's just straight boom, like, we need to die in the war, forget the Iranian populace, bomb the power plants, send them into darkness. Why do you care? It doesn't matter to you. Is this not genocidal rhetoric? If it isn't, I don't know what actually would be. That's crazy he's saying this. YouTube, can we demonetize him? He's calling for genocide. You know, YouTube wants to demonetize people. I think you should look no further than our friend Ben Shapiro here. No, just bomb Kharg Island, bomb all of their oil supply, send the people into darkness, and keep bombing the country after that and kill more people. They've already got 5,000 dead civilians. That's what the numbers are, probably not confirmed yet as a result of this war so far. That's been about 140, 150 days. So, you know, it's crazy. You would think he gets on and tries to say, listen, I understand this war is unfavorable, but the reason why it's necessary is because Iran has strings around the Middle East and where they threaten people every single day, and as a result, you are threatened with that. And that is their proxy network. And you would think it's like that kind of script, like the Charlie Kirk, Netanyahu-esque script. That's what we used to hear. Charlie Kirk would say, Hamas is the government of Gaza, and the Gazan people support Hamas, and so what do you want us to do? That's what Charlie... It's not even that now. It's gone even farther, and now it's just, well, you know, if you're an American in particular, you shouldn't care about Iranians not having energy. They should all die. I mean, that's what might as well just say that too while you're at it. So I'm just dumbfounded how people like this still get viewers. How could anybody listen to this and think that this guy cares about you or this country? He obviously doesn't. Obviously doesn't. Unbelievably evil, and he's not hiding it anymore. It seems like back then, in 2018, 2019, when Ben Shapiro was really hot, running amok, it seemed like at that point, he kind of cared about America. He did a good job hiding that he cared about Israel way more. Now it's like absolutely no apology, completely unapologetic, just straightforward Israeli policy. Like full-blown pro-Israel rhetoric, not even trying to hide it. And so you almost appreciate it in a way because he's clearly distinguishing himself as an enemy of the United States. So there is no vagueness or gray area here.
We are far more concerned with why we're there not winning. I think, though,
we're not winning because Iran has watched every single one of its neighbors experience the American recipe of regime change, and so they've fortified their country to resist exactly that, which is why they have a missile and drone stockpile and why they're hitting the Gulf countries where it hurts us so we can stop bombing them and try and regime change them like we did in Syria and Libya and Iraq and the rest. Iran does not want to be victim to the clean break strategy. They know what Benjamin Netanyahu formulated and presented to the world in the 90s and the late 90s moving into 2000, and they don't want to be victim to it. And so everything they've done, despite the sanctions, has been in defense of the inevitable attempt of regime change by the United States and Israel.
Actually ought to do is say an eye for everything. Like you touch a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, and we kill the head of the IRGC, we kill Khalibaf, we kill your entire leadership class. Again, we destroy South Pars and we destroy Kharg. One drone, and that's what happens. That is the way you win in the Middle East. By the way, that's the way you win generally.
That is the way you win in the Middle East, is what he wanted to say. So, yeah, we go in. So according to Ben Shapiro, Iran drone strikes, doesn't kill anybody, drone strikes a ship maybe because they want to control the strait. And I'm sorry. Maybe it sounds like I'm defending Iran, and I'm just taking you through what he's trying to say. Oh, they bomb an oil vessel because the United States undermines the deal that they created with Iran. We said, hey, Iran, control the strait. Control the strait. We'll figure it out later. Let's just get some peace effectuated for now. We'll have a buffer period where everything is kind of in the air. You can have the strait for now. And then in the midst of that, we try and take control of the strait and work with Oman behind Iran's back. They bomb a vessel as a result to tell us get out. And the reason why they want the strait is because they don't have any other leverage past that against the United States, the same country that bombed them 20,000 times in a month. And so Tucker Carlson responds, I think it's the same video, and he says, he just went hard.
Feels like things are stalemated.
Yeah, they are stalemated for sure. He says, obviously, this little freak could go volunteer to fight the war himself, but of course he won't. He's got no interest in making any kind of personal sacrifice. None of them do. Israel's finance minister bragged the other day that having American soldiers fight Netanyahu's war is the best for us. Oh, did you miss that, by the way? I spoke about that with Suleiman, but I didn't get to talk about it extensively by myself. The finance minister of Israel, I think his last name is Smotrich, had said publicly 2 days ago that Israel does not need to get involved in the war in Iran, and we should just keep allowing the U.S. and letting the U.S. do our bidding. That's literally what he said. And so is it any surprise that now they're a little bit more willing to pull out of southern Lebanon? Well, there's no need anymore to actually fight as hard in southern Lebanon. I know they want to annex it and make it their own, but now they don't need to weaponize it and strategically use it to foil the peace deal because there is no peace. Trump is fighting Iran himself now because we want the strait. So, you know, Israel doesn't have to go, oh man, there's too much peace between the United States and Iran. Let's go start some hostilities in Lebanon. Let's go provoke Lebanon. Let's poke the bear. Let's make Iran fight back. And then when Iran fight back, inevitably the United States has to fight back. And they don't even have to do that anymore because the United States is just cucking out so hard. We're starting the war up again by ourselves. And so Israel's just sitting back with their arms folded going, oh, we didn't have to do anything this time. This is nice. We did not even have to start this. So yeah, that was crazy. Smotrich doesn't want to die for Israel. Neither does Ben Shapiro. Dying for Israel is your job. You've got to wonder how people like this, liars without honor, wisdom, or loyalty to the United States, wound up in positions of such profound influence throughout our society. How did Mark Levin get the president's cell phone number? Why is Admiral Brad Cooper, the man in charge of the Iran war, secretly taking strategic advice from crazed Israel shill Mark Dubowitz? It's all so nuts and ultimately suicidal. Future generations, that is pretty funny, the phone number part. Future generations will struggle to understand it. In the meantime, Trump will likely obey Ben Shapiro as he has consistently for months. We can predict the results because every neocon victory is identical. Huge numbers of innocent people killed, disproportionately Christians, economic destruction, famine, mass migration, and deepening authoritarianism at home. That's what they're demanding because that's what they want. What can we do to stop it? Apparently not much, but we can remember what happened and why. And so that history records the truth. Otherwise, when the war ends in disaster, as it inevitably will, Ben Shapiro will be able to blame you for it. So yeah, Tucker went crazy on him, but it's over. I mean, they've definitely lost this whole rhetoric war. You know, and they may have lost the media war, but man, the physical one they're winning because they got the U.S. to pull into war. So let me look at some chats here. Then we'll go into the next thing. I wanted to react to this clip of Patrick Bet-David. And by the way, I just pinned the link for the official trainer of our community. That's One Chest. If you need some advice, if you need personal training, if you really want to change, get shredded like me, then get, being funny guys, relax. Then get with One Chest and he will certainly help you in reaching your goals. Really, really good at what he does. I've seen a lot of his transformations. I can speak and endorse confidently from what I've seen. So get with One Chest if you have not already and you need that assistance. All right, let's see. What else do we have queued up here? I guess Netanyahu did an interview, and it's in Hebrew, of course. And he's talking about what he was talking to Trump with, or what he was presenting to Trump before the war started. Surprise, surprise, all of the jokes we had about what the meetings entailed between Trump and Netanyahu are actually not jokes. This is what happened. This is what it says here. Netanyahu went to see Trump right after the election to tell him about Iran. I went in with 7 big slides. Here's what we are going to do. So let's like take a look. I have to translate this whole thing. But let's see here. Turn this down so I can talk over it. I went to see Trump right after the guy, and I came there with 7 such transparencies, each such large transparency, because they don't put in a disc. They don't put anything electronic. I think this is automatic translation by X. So let's just see what this says here. This is look. This is the difficulty that they try to add to it. They don't want me to read this. They don't want me to understand it. He could easily do this in English. By the way, if he did it in English, more people would view it. More people speak English than fucking Hebrew. Why is he doing it in Hebrew? Pretty nefarious, if you ask me. I think there's a reason for that. But it essentially says here, he laid out the plan for Trump elaborately in the 7 meetings that he's had with him since Trump got elected in Mar-a-Lago and then in Washington. I told him about Fordo and said your B2s would be much more effective. He listened, and in the end, he joined. Unbelievable. You've got Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu bragging about how he controls the president with puppet strings. 2026. God forbid. What is in store for 2027? God forbid I say worse. Really, really bad. So, but that's that. We'll watch a video on some updates with Trump and Iran, and then we'll get into some other videos with Patrick Bet-David.
Iran have responded to Donald Trump's latest threats. Mahmoud Abdel-Wahad has the latest from the Iranian capital.
Donald Trump has dramatically raised the stakes by a post on Truth Social threatening that any Iranian attack on a vessel in the Strait of Hormuz will be met with destruction of bridges and power plants inside Iran, including those near the capital, Tehran. So it seems that he wants to escalate by setting a new set of rules of engagement. He wants to tie any attack on a vessel in the Strait of Hormuz to destruction of civilian infrastructure inside Iran. So it seems that he wants to say any action will be met with a response to raise the cost for Iran. Now, Iran's perspective has just come from a military source cited by state media, saying that if the United States destroys bridges or power plants inside Iran, Iran will respond by expanding its operations beyond the region, targeting.
And by the way, the State Department just set out a warning for traveling in the Middle East, so that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign that Trump is going to actually start hitting these power plants like he's always bragged about. He's always made that loose threat, but he's never followed up on it. And so it's been a bluff for the large part of the last few months. Well, now it's seeming like it may be real because he's hitting the bridges. And there's really nowhere else to go in terms of escalation aside from targeting civilian infrastructure and or critical infrastructure that powers the country. Energy infrastructure like a electric power grid, for example. And so if Trump does that, you can guarantee desalination plants and electric grids across the entire GCC will be struck right back. And so what will happen to the Gulf nations as a result? Maybe food shortages, they'll plummet into darkness. They don't have much agriculture. They need these desalination plants, a shortage of water for people to drink fresh drinking water. The possibilities are endless, all of them being disastrous, but this is the direction that we're headed in if we continue escalation. Because there's really no off-ramp anymore, and there's nowhere else for us to go. We can keep bombing the coastline. It's not doing much. It's not doing much because Iran still controls the strait. Stokes23, thank you so much for joining the squad, my friend. Shout out to you. Welcome. It's good to have you here. So, you know, I mean, think about it from Trump's perspective. And this is the problem with this administration. They are desperately seeking a way to escalate the conflict and get Iran to beg for peace, but they cannot find that. They cannot exercise that possibility. And the thing that I've said since March, at the end of March, when the peace deal was being worked on allegedly, and we got the final peace deal or the temporary ceasefire on April 6th, I said the only step for the United States after this brutal military aggression with no success is to nuke Iran. God forbid that ever happens. There's no other option that we actually have that can make us a decisive winner in this conflict. It's been a strategic mess. to rid Iran of their ability to control the Strait of Hormuz, we would effectively have to use a nuclear weapon. That is a fact. There is really no other choice on the table. Well, let's bomb the nuclear facilities. Done that. Let's try and barricade it. Done that. Let's try and hit the coastline. Done that. Been there, done that. Let's try to guide the vessels out of the strait and dare Iran to attack. We tried that. Operation Freedom. It failed miserably. So we've tried everything. We've really tried everything. Try a peace deal with Iran. Doesn't work because Israel just destroys and sabotages the peace by doing something in Lebanon. And so the only real way to take back control of the strait, the only real way to have any sort of potentiality for decisiveness is if we nuke them. That's the only option. Two things lie on the table for the United States in terms of options. It is nuking Iran or it's getting the hell out of this war. And the latter option seems like kind of something Trump is not willing to do because it will be a huge L. It already has been an L. Anybody who's being honest knows it's an L. But if Trump pulls out of this war now, not even the MAGA shills have anything left to say. At least the MAGA shills now can entertain talking points saying things like, well, Trump is going hard and you can't overthrow an Iranian regime in 3 days, even though that's what they bragged about in February. Let us not forget. Right after those strikes at around 2 or 3 a.m. Eastern time here in the United States, on February 28th, going into March, every single MAGA shill, literally every single one, it was like a script, in unison, they all said, this will be quick, Trump knows what he's doing, this is an aggressive military operation, we are crushing Iran. It is almost August, and Iran still controls the strait, and they've still got their missile stockpile, and they're still screwing up the GCC with all of their drones and missile stockpile and killing U.S. service members as a result. So what option is left for the United States? We've got to sit here and ponder. We've got to sit here and think. There's nothing. Where's the silver lining in all of this? There's none. The best thing is to do nothing and get the hell out of the Strait of Hormuz, get the hell out of the Middle East. But it's just not something that the Israelis will allow Trump to do. It is not.
Energy infrastructure linked to U.S. interests in the region. The military source also said that the management and control of the Strait of Hormuz is a sovereign right for Iran, and any safe passage in the Strait of Hormuz is guaranteed only by coordination with Iran. Now, this comes after the latest spate of attacks by U.S. airstrikes over the past 11 nights in a row that resulted in the death of more than 50 people and the injuries of more than 500 people across several provinces in southern, central, and northern Iran. So most of these attacks were
and they're senseless. They are senseless because it is not encouraging Iran to stop their control of the strait. It's only making them squeeze their control of the strait even tighter.
Traded in southern Iran, as the United States it wants to degrade Iran's military, naval, and coastal defense capabilities in order to eliminate its control over the Strait of Hormuz. Mahmoud Abdul Wahid, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
So, I just like how he said his name at the end. Mahmoud Abdul Wahid. Okay, I got one more.
The Houthi group
We'll cover kind of the Houthi situation. I mean, I already spoke about it for 10 years, but we'll watch a video on it.
says it's targeted 2 oil tankers in the Red Sea, saying the ships were violating its naval blockade on Saudi Arabia. The incident reportedly took place about 130 kilometres off the Saudi coast. The Saudi-owned tanker Celia caught fire after an unknown projectile hit its front side. Maritime officials say there are no known casualties. A second vessel, the Layla, has reportedly also caught fire in the same attack. Well, let's bring in Kulsum Sharif, who is standing by for us here in Doha. And 2 ships being targeted in the Red Sea. What more do we know at this stage? Have Saudi officials commented at all?
At this point, we have a confirmation from Saudi state media saying that a vessel has been targeted in the Red Sea. It was on fire. It caught fire, but the crew members have been safe, and relevant authorities have actually managed to secure the vessel. Now, this comes after Yemen's Ansarullah Houthi group claimed responsibility for attacks on tankers in the Red Sea. Now, this is the latest flashpoint we are seeing in the war between US and Iran, with the Houthis declaring a maritime blockade, so to speak, of the kingdom on Monday. Now, Saudi has been relying on its oil exports on the Red Sea after the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz in the past few months that we've seen. Now, this poses a new challenge for Saudi Arabia and also a global energy supply route yet again being held off after the Strait of Hormuz, which was responsible for about 20% of global oil and natural gas supplies. Now, when we look at the Bab al Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea that connects to the Suez Canal, we're looking at nearly 15% of global sea trade that stands to be affected. Now, the Houthis says since they've declared the blockade, nearly 10 ships have been either turned back or have changed route.
And there have been more Iranian strikes on the Gulf overnight and into the morning. Can you just bring us up to date with what has actually happened? The IRGC have made a statement addressing the...
And so bear in mind, the Houthis are targeting Saudi vessels only, not all oil vessels in the Red Sea and the Bab al Mandeb Strait. But it's only logical to think the next step, if the United States does not pull back, is mobilizing the Houthis against any vessel passing through the strait, and that's when that 12% will legitimately be clogged up, like the Strait of Hormuz. That's the next step. And again, that's a level of escalation against the entire energy community in the world that Iran possesses in their back pocket. And so they've got another level of escalation dominance that will prove incredibly painful for the United States in the coming days and or weeks. And that's just not something that the United States possesses on the other side. What are we going to do? Keep bombing them? They've dealt with like 20, 30,000 strikes at this point. It's not going to be that difficult for them to continuously deal with more. On the coastline, inland, it doesn't matter. And so the only option, like I said, is to either nuke Iran or maybe launch a boots on ground situation. And that's just, I really hope that's not going to happen. But, you know, I would say it's political unaliving for Trump, but he's already done that to himself. But that's just not feasible. So there's no, I just would love to believe that we wouldn't go that far, but at this point, you can't put anything past Trump. You can't put anything past reality because he started a war with Iran.
Kuwaiti people directly.
Yes, absolutely. They have addressed the people of Kuwait, saying that America that has violated your territorial integrity and not us. And they've gone on to explain why they have attacked the U.S. military bases in the region. We know that the Ali al-Salam base has come under attack in the most recent fight. And they say the fighters also targeted a telecommunications tower, and in response to U.S. attacks on telecommunication towers in Iran. So Iran has basically laid out a tit-for-tat measure that we've seen in the past 12 days of the renewed fighting. Iran basically says it's an eye for an eye after U.S. President Donald Trump said that U.S. forces will target an Iranian bridge or a power plant if a vessel gets attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran says it's going to play out the same way. And we've seen the GCC.
And I know we've reached a point of no return, but if we start hitting power plants, that's going to be the craziest escalation since this war has started about 150 days ago. No doubt about it.
Countries actually bear the brunt of the attacks between the U.S. and Iran. We've seen Kuwait repeatedly come under attacks, not just U.S. military targets in the region, but also crucial civilian infrastructure. So the GCC countries in a unified voice want this war to end. In fact, Qatar, Egypt and Pakistan have also proposed a 10-day ceasefire so that people can get back to the negotiating table.
Okay, thank you so much for all of that.
And honestly, this is just the endless cycle. This is the endless cycle Trump had said today on Truth Social. Again, we just reacted to it, but he said every single time Iran hits a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to shoot back at even more critical infrastructure and make it that much more painful for them. But, I mean, this is just the same tone, the same stuff we've heard from Trump, and it's frustration. It's frustration that he has no control. It's frustration that he understands he doesn't really possess any of the cards. And if he tries to utilize one of his alleged cards, Iran has a better one. like the Houthis in the Red Sea. So, and Iran has an even better one than that. If we hit their power plants, they'll do it right back to Saudi Arabia. Could you imagine if Saudi Arabia experiences power outages? They experience even more of an energy shortage. Saudi Arabia experiences water shortages. Bahrain, Kuwait, who knows what could happen? All bets are off. So it's a very dangerous situation. And you know, not to be more demoralizing, but I forgot to go into this. U.S.-Israel defense integration on horizon as House keeps Section 219 in National Defense Authorization Act. Gotta love it. So the House is preparing to vote on the fiscal year 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, with Section 219, formerly Section 224. We covered this already, but there's a new development still embedded in the roughly $1.1 trillion bill. The House approved the rule governing debate on H.R. 8800 by a 214 to 211 vote Tuesday, July 21st. The vote allowed the chamber to proceed with NDAA, but excluded the amendment from reps. Thomas Massie, of course, in Ro Khanna, would have removed Section 219. Lawmakers will not receive a separate vote on the bipartisan amendment that sought to remove the section, a proposal to expand U.S.-Israel defense technology cooperation that has garnered strong rebukes in certain political and defense circles. The White House expects to hold a recorded vote on the complete NDAA on Wednesday. Section 219 would direct the defense secretary to designate a Pentagon executive agent to oversee the U.S.-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. That official would coordinate bilateral defense research, development, testing, evaluation, and industrial cooperation. The proposal originated as a bipartisan, bicameral United States-Israel Futures Act introduced by the House of Representatives Ronnie Jackson and Don Davis, with companion legislation from Senators Ted Budd and Kirsten Gillibrand. Jackson framed the proposal as a way to preserve America's technological advantage and deliver new battlefield capabilities to service members. All right. Davis emphasizes potential to prepare troops for evolving threats, particularly unmanned systems and electronic warfare. This just makes no sense. Budd and Gillibrand have similarly presented the initiative as an expansion of existing work on missile defense, drones, and underground threats as a means to strengthen American military and technological capabilities. And so, as I understand it, this is just waiting Senator approval. Once the Senate approves it, all that's left is really rendering the bill and then Trump signing it, because it's already passed the House. So, look, of course, it's a national security concern. U.S. defense integration with Israel, security, technology, who knows what that even means? Israel having influence in the Pentagon. And I mean, not to sound like a contrarian, does this even change anything? You know, you got to ask yourself. And certainly it's worth the outrage, and we fight back against it. And we commend Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie and all the others. But does this even really change anything? One must ask themselves, and the answer ultimately is no. No. Before this even existed to the level that it does now, we started a war in Iran for Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu possesses the ability to come to the United States and convince the president to do anything he wants him to do. So it really is unfortunate. Lotus, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Appreciate that. I didn't see that, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate that, brother. Shout out to Lotus. I'm going to read some super chats in a second as well. But yeah, it just needs Senate advancement. And then Trump will sign that bill. No doubt about it. So it's going to expand the integration of a technology between the two countries. And certainly that will influence our military in a negative way. But, not to be demoralizing and sound defeated, it's just is anyone surprised? Is anyone surprised? Certainly I'm not. So we covered that a few months or a month ago, I believe, and it was Section 224 at that time. And unsurprisingly, the development is that it's collecting momentum in Congress. So we will see what happens. We will see what happens. I got another video queued up that somebody sent me. I think it's actually pretty good. So we'll watch this. Let's see. But let me take a look at some chats. I think I had a couple come in. Excuse me. I haven't ate yet. I went to the gym, just came back, streamed, didn't eat. Real nigga. No, I'm kidding. John says, I gotta ask, who the fuck let low test Ben be one of the faces of conservatism? P.S. bro, I've got an updated of my book. updated copy of my book. Want a new copy? God bless. Yeah, DM it over to me, inshallah. I'll take a look at it. Shout out to you, John. Lotus says, do you think the Arabs around the Middle East will ever get along? No. Probably not in my lifetime. No. Not until, like, Christ comes back, deadass. Not eschatologically in Islam, Muslims believe Jesus will return. And I think it's not until then. The return of the Mahdi, then Jesus. I think until then, there will be no unification of Muslims. That's just how it sits. That's how it seems to me. Unfortunate. I'd love to be wrong there, but that's just like my bold prediction. You know. But let's see. Oh, we got a super chat from Desert Joe. Shout out to you. Appreciate you, Desert Joe. Thank you for the 20. He says, Ryad impressions and geopolitical commentary. Everyone liking this high IQ stream needs to click the like button and help push this content in the algorithm. Yes, please like the video. Shout out to all you guys. Really appreciate all the love. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Desert Joe. Huge supporter. Huge, huge supporter. But so this was really interesting. And I meant to react to this a week ago because it's kind of old now, but maybe many of you haven't seen it. This was from the 15th of July. Former CIA officer says Israel is more dangerous than China. Hot take there. So I guess they're sitting here talking about Israel and China, and then they talk about Islam posing a threat to the U.S. as well. So we will take a look at this and see what he said specifically. Because you know Patrick Bet-David's not going to want to hear this, right?
What are different things that they can do to harm us?
Israel can hack into our cyber systems. They can hack into our...
Oh, just wait till Section 219 gets passed. Wait till the new legislation gets passed where they'll have even deeper integration with our technology and our defense systems and in the Pentagon. Wait till that's all said and done with.
our core...
Amazing timing. We literally just went over that article.
Water, power grid, you name it. I mean, China has hacked into our personnel records for the military. Mm-hmm. Israel is far more capable than China is in terms of cyber capability. They learn their cyber capability from us. They can rent their cyber capability from Russia. So when we talk about cyber attacks, space-based attacks, when we talk about influence campaigns, propaganda campaigns, the top of the list of capability is Israel. It's not all strapping bombs and flying in planes. It's much...
Yo, this is like the last thing a neocon wants to hear, which is effectively what Patrick Bet-David has become.
More sophisticated. It's sophisticated enough that they can cross a border into an enemy country and launch drones, right? We underestimate Israel's capability constantly. I don't know how many...
Not over here. We completely understand it and respect it and are aware of it, and we are trying to rid it from the United States. We know over here. We know that Mossad uses passports and acts like Americans to drag us into war. We know what they do. I think it's PBD that needs the red pilling, but we know.
Sometimes you have to see pagers blow up before you realize Israel's far more capable than we believe they are.
Do you see them as an ally?
Dude, I guarantee you in the next 10 years, iPhones are going to start exploding in these anti-Semites' hands. Like, bro, I'm going to have to tell my brother, yo, no more iPhones in like 5 years. After that pager attack, Operation Grim Beeper, remember that, where they blew up all the pagers in Lebanon belonging to Hezbollah members? Yeah, bro. And then they try to say that any other country poses more of a risk. Yeah, we should integrate with the country that's hacking phones and exploding them. Okay.
I see them as a country that is out for their own best national interests. And when you align with that, you're on their good side. And when you don't...
I agree. Ben Shapiro just said, Americans should not worry about this war. You should hope that Trump bombs every Iranian power plant. Who cares about the Iranian civilians? Bomb Karg Island. So yeah, that's quite true.
Don't align with that, you're not.
Is it specific to Bibi or Israel, period?
I think it's both.
Nah, no. It's really not just Bibi. A lot of people in Israel say Bibi doesn't do enough. So,
but Bibi has taken it to the next level because of the corruption issues that he's also stuck in. So in many ways, I don't blame Netanyahu for the decisions that he's been making, because he is taking actions that are putting Israel in a safer position for the next 2 to 3 decades. He is still creating new enemies that they will have to deal with.
Maybe short term, he's helping the security of his nation, but long term, he's destroying it. Long term, he is destroying it. And it takes just a few pieces of American legislation to make them a sitting duck in the Middle East. The only reason they still exist is because of those nukes.
3 decades from now. But he's working hard to try to make a series of successes so powerful that whenever he finally has to face the corruption charges, the country says, yeah, but look how safe he made us for the next 20 years.
Sarah, do you agree?
I do think China, North Korea, and Russia are just as capable of influence operations in Israel. So why
You
is
think
Israel...
North Korea is as capable as Israel?
Yes.
I am going to need more Lagavulin.
They are.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Unbelievable. North Korea has like closed itself from the world. Nice try.
Whoever's pouring that.
They
We'll
are.
get it for you.
We see certain countries operate. We know certain countries operate in a specific way. Israel is one of those countries that's very difficult for us to track. There are multiple intelligence surveys out there that talk about how Israel cannot be trusted as an ally to the extent that, say, France or Italy or Germany can be. They have to be constantly put at arm's length because they have so much capability that they have been trained, given, granted in partnership with us with so few direct threats.
Did we forget about this? This was 1 month ago. Pentagon raised threat of Israeli spying on U.S. to highest level, sources say. This is June 5th, 2026. And we did a show on this. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? The Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency in recent weeks issued... Come on, NBC. Come on. You get the point. Get out of here. The Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency in recent weeks issued the new counterintelligence threat assessment amid rising tensions between Israel and the U.S. over the way forward in the war with Iran. And then it continues on to give you all the details. So...
threats. So they can focus their resources and focus their assets on a handful of direct threats where the United States, being the only world superpower, has to diversify and adjust for every threat in the world.
When we set out to create a shoe that blends
all right, are we getting a Patrick Bet-David ad here on an X post? Come on, Patrick. Bro, you've already made like billions of dollars. What, millions of dollars? Come on. Why? Let's see. They also spoke about, I think it's this clip here.
Which of them would you give you the biggest percentage all the way to the smallest? So you have these 4 categories. You have Islam.
Okay.
So within Islam, we have IRGC, Qatar, just include all of them. We have Israel, because, you know, Israel is also coming up a lot of different places. Then we have China and we have Russia. Where does your paranoia lie the most for the next 10 years with these 4 different countries as well as Islam?
So he goes into Islam. I think this is different. So let's take a look.
Just rank them in order and give like 45% would be Islam, 25 would be this.
Yeah, so China takes the massive chunk of pie for me.
And it 100%, it's absolutely China. All the China hawks are right.
China is the #1 strategic threat to the United States.
What did you put on China?
50%.
Okay.
Islam, I gave 5%. I'm not worried about Islam. There are other countries.
He doesn't like that. Look at his face. You know he loves the... So I think Islam is a very big problem here in the United States. I'm a numbers guy. You know, I'm looking at these Muslims and I think that they are very problematic.
Countries that need to worry about Islam, but we're not one of them. Russia, I gave 20%, and then Israel, I gave 25%. So I am actually saying we should be more paranoid of Israel than Russia.
And Islam, 5 times Islam.
5 times Islam.
Let's start off with Islam first, and then we'll go to Israel. Why did you put Islam the lowest out of all of them at 5%?
I don't see Islam as a threat to the United States. And that's what I was seeing it as. Paranoid to me, right? What am I paranoid? It's not Islam. Islam is so, it's difficult for them to reach us with any significance. When they reach us, it's difficult for them to bypass our security systems, whether they're cybersecurity systems, police systems, border security systems, etc. Meanwhile, Israel actually has the ability to drag us into all sorts of shit that actually does impact us. We are all paying more money for oil right now because of Israel. We are all suffering under an international outcry against American leadership because of Israel. The whole world questions whether or not the president of the United States is even making his own decisions or whether he's a puppet of Israel. So Israel has an incredible ability to frustrate and put us in quagmire.
Even more with Trump.
That Islam just doesn't have.
Okay, so what's the worst thing that Israel could do to us? Go a little further. So because you put 25%, That's a real threat. You put it bigger than Russia and Islam. So what are some things they could do to us?
So I'm not worried about Israel sending a bomb into New York. If that's what you're worried about, we're worried about different things. Israel.
Shit, I wouldn't even put that past them. Honestly, because at the end, listen, you've got to understand the context with the state of Israel. Israel's an ethno-state in the Middle East, and their sovereignty is contingent upon the United States. Their existence really as a whole is contingent upon the United States because they are to the neighboring Arab states a foreign nation in terms of religion, ethics, morale, you name it. And honestly, Israel is quite secular. But the way Israel was created is why we have the fractured Middle East with all the tensions that we have today. It does stem from Israel, as I was saying earlier. It stems from the inception of Zionism and its ultimate mission to allow the Jewish people to have a state that will never be interfered with again, and so they will never be expelled from a place again, and the Romans will never do what they did to them again in Judea, and all these different things historically. There is a motivation for the state of Israel, and the biggest one intrinsically is the idea of never again, right? There will be no more Holocaust. There will be no more diaspora. There will be no more persecution. We won't seek safety from anybody. We will be the own source of our safety. And so the modern day Israel, the modern day state of Israel, is motivated by all of these grievances and historical events that have in fact been catastrophic for the Jewish people. I'm not going to omit that. And so as a result, you get a very aggressive push for sovereignty and representation and borders and a flag and a government and democracy, quote unquote, which it's not a democracy whatsoever. But somebody's got to pay the price there. That's the Palestinians. And so you have the Nakba, you have the expelling of Palestinians, about 750,000 in the 40s and the 50s. And as a result of that, this always will be the point in which all the tensions we see now stem from. There's nothing else that comes close. The Nakba and the stealing of land, Israel taking the land from Palestinians and pushing them out into what is now the Gaza Strip and now the West Bank and certain other places in Israel, but that's where the majority of Palestinian representation, especially governmentally, exists now today as I speak to you. And this caused a grievance for all of the Arab neighbors. Every single Arab nation in the Middle East at one point or another opposed and or fought Israel aggressively. Had it not been for the United States supporting Israel, of course, Israel would never be able to defend themselves. And of course, they acquired nukes at some point in the 60s, right around the time of John F. Kennedy being assassinated. And from there, that's when the Arab states could not defy Israel as aggressively due to the fact that they were closely allied with the United States, and they now have this vague nuclear ability that was kind of kept under the rug for some time, and it's still unacknowledged to this day. It's unofficial. And by the way, Democrats are the ones trying to get the Trump administration to acknowledge this nuclear program, which is why they're going to steamroll Republicans in 2028, because they're asking the right questions. But, you know, you think about all of this, and he says Israel wouldn't bomb the New York or wouldn't bomb the United States. Israel will go to any length and has gone to very far lengths to ensure their safety and or sovereignty. They have. And that's part of the reason why we can't even stop defending them. You do realize, again, as I've said, they are the only nuclear power in the Middle East. If the United States stops defending them, what happens? Well, then all the Arab nations go, we don't have to deal with this first world power, the most powerful nation in the world, defending this little strip of land belonging to the Jewish people. We're going to attack. And immediately, nuclear war would ensue. Israel would never entertain the idea of fighting 3 or 4 countries or even one country head to head if the United States is not right behind them, defending them. And so nuclear war may break out at any moment. But the U.S. knows this, which is why we're in this position of no exit. Because if we stop supporting them, what do? They will destroy the Middle East. They effectively have destroyed the Middle East regardless, but the level of destruction and death that will be seen in the Middle East if the United States decides to stop supporting Israel right away and just cut the cord like nothing, I think it'd be a level that no one would expect and a level that the world has never seen, at least in recent history. And so, you say Israel wouldn't bomb New York City or the U.S. in a situation where it guaranteed their sovereignty in some sort of way. You never know how things shape out in the future. They would. They would. We can never put anything past them. Never. The lengths that they have gone to, you can do a documentary on it.
Could easily launch a false flag operation that sends us into a war. They can have an Israeli.
They have done that. This is the thing. They have done that.
Who poses as a Palestinian, who goes in and...
Okay, so he's referring to things that he knows. He's just not admitting exactly what it is.
Causes some kind of crazy shit in Syria, and now all of a sudden the entire United States is engaged in Syria because of something that Israel set up as a false flag. And that is something that the Mossad does all the time. They do it very well, very eloquently. They already selectively share intelligence with the United States. And the reason you selectively share intelligence is to create the opportunity for misdirection or malintent. So Israel's already involved in these kinds of operations.
Deeply embedded and entrenched in the United States, and will be more deeply embedded and entrenched after Section 219 is passed and signed by Trump.
At a very high success rate. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about them backstabbing the United States. I'm concerned about them undermining our national interests. I'm concerned about them choosing, like they did with Iran, to escalate rhetoric about a certain issue that's more important to them than it is to us, that then goes on to affect us.
Okay, perfect. So then the infiltration of Islam, some say, to EU and what's happening to a lot of those countries, UK, Germany, you're seeing it all over the place. And to the point where Rupert Lowe did a paper, the 250,000, stories of girls being raped in UK, 87% being Pakistanis and Muslims. And then seeing what's going on in the U.S. right now with New York City, Mamdani wins history, individuals that also won. So that's not going into the financial capital of the world in the States.
This is exactly why Patrick Bet-David is losing credibility real time. This guy just eloquently and perfectly laid out for you, with evidence, by the way, why Israel cannot be trusted and why they are the #1 national security threat for the United States, in which mainstream media news outlets reported on in mass amounts in the beginning of June. And so he's being backed up by even mainstream media at this point. It's not even a conspiracy that they are a national security threat. And Patrick Bet-David hears all of this, and in the face of it, he says, well, Islam, the UK, rape gangs, this and that. Okay, let's take a look at this really quick. I want to draw a distinction for you. Don't shoot the messenger here, but I'll tell you exactly why these people are losing influence and why Democrats are going to smoke Republicans in 2028. You want to know why? This is Mayor Zohran Mamdani of New York City. He dropped this video yesterday saying that he cannot arrest the Prime Minister of Israel because the federal government is stopping him from doing it, even though it's something he promised and campaigned on to win being mayor of New York City. And so, this was like kind of a very popular talking point for him. And of course, he had to back out. He can't do what he wants. The president is always going to supersede him. But Bibi Netanyahu is actually wanted by the ICC for war crimes that he did commit. And Mamdani is the only guy who calls it out and says, I'm going to arrest him if he comes to my city for it. And now that he can't do it, yeah, one may label it as him chickening out and backing out, whatever. But where does this frame the blame? Where will people direct the blame? It will be at Trump for, again, cucking for Netanyahu. And he frames it perfectly. And people aren't really noticing this. Everybody's saying, oh, he chickened out. Oh, he's a wuss. Oh, he's a... What matters is that he is, and this is all alleged, at least attempting to. He's saying it. He campaigned on it in the mayoral election months ago. And so him winning, he's trying to deliver on it. And he's saying, I can't deliver on it because the president is controlled by Israel. That's pretty much what he's saying in this video. And so, like, you think about Patrick Bet-David being told in the most elaborate and concise detail, Israel is the greatest security threat. Here's why. A, B, C, D. Guy goes through the entire laundry list. And sure, could he have covered more? Yeah, but that was more than enough. And so the evidence is there. It's clear we started a war with Iran for Israel. There's no interest here in the U.S. We already covered that. We know that. PBD likely knows that, despite what he says on show. And so this guy draws it out clearly for him. And what does Patrick Bet-David do? He goes, well, Mamdani in New York City, Mamdani. And this is what that same Mamdani is. By the way, I don't like Mamdani, and I would have never voted for him. I don't like his policies. But Patrick Bet-David is complaining about Mamdani and ignoring the problem of Israel being a national security threat. And this is what Mamdani is telling people, in which, by the way, got 9.1 million likes on Instagram in 2 days. Probably somewhere around 20 million views, I'd guess. Let's take a look. 108 million views in 48 hours.
Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone, with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience, should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant.
And so wouldn't we all want to see this? Like, just saying, wouldn't we all want to see Mamdani arrest Netanyahu? That's a W. And so this is what I'm trying to say. You know, people wonder, oh man, a lot of these right-wing commentators are losing favorability. Look at the numbers. Look at the American people. Pew Research Center dropped this last year, or just a few days ago. Sorry, I thought it was last month. Americans' views of Israelis have grown increasingly negative, but views of Palestinians hold fairly steady. And then there's more studies and mass surveys. There's more they've done. Under 30, adults under the age of 30 express more favorable views of the Palestinian people than Israeli people. So we know where the Zoomers are going. Older Americans maintain significantly more positive views of Israeli people than the Palestinian people, with older generations favoring Israel by wider margins. Young Democrats, obviously, we know that's going to be overwhelmingly pro-Palestinian. Young Republicans, under 30, seems a little bit more favorable. So, you know, you got to think about what's happening in the world. You got to think about what the narratives are, what the politics are shaping to be. And this guy is just so behind the curve. It's unbelievable. He's so behind the mark. You know, he's over concerned about the things that no one is talking about. No one who's legit is talking about. Here, let me get the clip back up. I pulled it away. And while I'm pulling that back up, guys, please like the video. Appreciate it. Helps me out a ton. And I will make sure I don't have chats right now. But we'll finish up that video. Give me one moment.
Countries
okay.
to be paranoid about.
Where
which of them would you
bomb in already to us?
1,000. So then the infiltration of Islam, some say, to EU and what's happening to a lot of those countries, UK, you know, Germany, you're seeing it all over the place. And to the point where Rupert Lowe did a paper, the 250,000, stories of girls being raped in UK, 87% being Pakistanis and Muslims. And then seeing what's going on in the U.S. right now with New York City, Mamdani wins, his 3 individuals that also won. So that's not going into the financial capital of the world in the States. Do you have any concern of they're infiltrating the United States in the future?
So here, this is another thing I think is very interesting, right? Islam is the only thing on this list that's not a nation state.
It is.
It's a religion.
That's right.
I'm not worried about a religion. I'm worried about people, and people identify sometimes as a religion. But it's interesting.
Wait, what? Wait, what did PBD just say?
Do you have any concern of them? They're infiltrating.
This is another thing I think is very interesting, right? Islam is the only thing on this list that's not a nation state.
It is.
It's a religion.
That's right.
I'm not.
All right. Bro's thinking of ISIS or something. I'm not sure where PBD got confused there.
Worried about a religion. I'm worried about people, and people identify sometimes as a religion. But it's interesting to me that we're actually.
Did Patrick? Wait, I just want to make sure I understand. Okay, is he trying to say? Because I get it. Is he trying to say like Islam is like because like the Islamic State? I don't know what he was trying. Maybe he'll explain himself. It's just become comical.
Weighing nation state threats against religious threats. So when we talk about Islamic people in New York,
I can't help but crash out. I've done this too many times. I don't want to do it again. But I'm doing it again. This dude just gave you the most couldn't have given you a better monologue as to why Israel is a greater threat than anyone else. And is anyone under the age of 35 arguing with that? I don't think so. I don't think any single time, if a fucking pin drops, people blame Israel. And so people are more aware of the issue than ever. And to that I give credit. To that I say, fine. Move the needle in that direction if it means they won't have nearly as much influence on our government and wreak havoc in the Middle East. But you got these facts being presented in front of Patrick Bet-David, in which he's not arguing with, he's not even dealing with what this guy is saying, and he completely deflects and goes, but Islam is a state. And you've just got to go, okay, maybe he's just not smart. It's either he's not smart or he understands he's wrong and he just has to keep up with the bullshit rhetoric. And there's money in his pockets motivating him to say the right things and the wrong things according to wherever the money is coming from. So, and I get it. People, and I've said this before, I said this with Suleiman, I've said this several times. People don't like Islam, that's one thing. You blame Islam for everything, get out of here. You are literally the biggest thing slowing any of this down. Slowing any semblance of anti-Israel rhetoric, stopping the war crimes, stopping the genocide, which is ongoing as I speak to you now. They're still bombing Gaza. They're burning people alive. You know, you would sit there and think like, oh, okay. Literally nothing. He did not deal with one of his points.
I don't see them as a threat just because of what they believe. That goes against American values. I see threats as nation states and transnational threats that self-identify, like Al-Qaeda, right? So I don't see Islam and Islamic people as a threat.
But if you notice, I put it as, consider it being IRGC, which is all the proxies, and consider Qatar, which Qatar is funding a lot of different things in the state.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. I'm crashing out. I've done this before. Like I've done the whole PBD debunk thing. I just can't. I'm crashing. Bro, you are being presented with cold, hard facts, statistical data that I can pull up right now, that I've done before several times on stream. And all you can do is say IRGC. This dude just told you exactly why Israel cannot be trusted. He gives you evidence. He tells you Mossad uses our passports, all this stuff. The intelligence sharing, Section 219 we just covered. Further defense integration, Israel having some sort of representation within the Pentagon, whatever. And this dude just says IRGC. It's like he's spewing out a fucking script. He sounds like an AI model that's geared to combat anti-Israel rhetoric. Like he sounds like an AI model that was created solely to deflect anti-Israel rhetoric. Like, what are you saying? Literally not on topic. And then bro goes, well, Islam, and he's right. Islam isn't a state. It is a religion. And he goes, it's a state. Okay, what do you mean it is a state? There is no caliphate right now. Where's the state? Where's the state? And last time I checked, and this is what they tried to do. They try to bring this all together and conflate it, paint this wide stroke across the canvas and say, All Muslims are the same. No, they're not. The UAE cucks for Israel. Saudi Arabia was about to sign the Abraham Accords in October of 2023. Literally, Iran is fighting Israel. Bahrain is like on the fence of both sides. Kuwait is on the fence sometimes. Sudan is in the Abraham Accords. Morocco's in the Abraham Accords. Jordan supports Israel. Jordan allows Israel to use its airspace. Syria now as well, since the new president got elected in 2024. Or didn't get elected, rather. He took power with the support of Turkey and likely the United States. Where's the state? Where's the scary Islam? Where's the unification? It doesn't exist. And then Muslims here in the United States. Oh no, there's a couple mosques in Plano, Texas. Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? Thomas Massey just got unseated by AIPAC, paired along with Trump. Trump is trying to get Abraham Accords signed for Israel, and then he'll give Saudi Arabia some sort of vague nuclear deal that no one even knows what will transpire to turn out to be. Like, what are we talking about? We just bombed the shit out of Iran for Israel, and we're talking about Islam. Okay. I'm a numbers guy like Patrick Bet-David. The numbers are not numbering. Nothing is mathing. It's one thing. Look, it's truly, listen to me when I tell you guys this. It's one thing if Patrick Bet-David is going, no, I recognize that. And look, these are my concerns with Islam. And he eloquently lays out his points. Dude is an AI model. He just goes, but the IRGC. What the fuck about the IRGC? The IRGC is bombing the Gulf right now because Israel and the United States destroyed them for 30 days straight and bombed them 15,000 plus times and are still bombing their coastline, and Israel is parading their destruction. Well, what are you talking about? But the proxy network. The proxy network exists to guarantee their sovereignty. Yeah, is there some deal of influence that Iran wants? Is there a piece there? Is there an element there that Iran wants influence in the Middle East? They want Shiism to grow in but doesn't everybody else want their influence everywhere? Isn't that like the point? That's the whole point. People want their influence. People want to expand. Expansionist, that's what it is. Conquest, that's like the way. It's a necessary existence. It's a necessary evil of the way the world functions. Okay, Iran has their proxy in Syria, or sorry, not Syria, in southern Lebanon, and it's like immediately you go the proxy network. The only people the proxy network is fighting currently is Israel. And that's our national security threat. So in a way, you're like almost proving the guy right. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. You would think he's like feeling where the wind is blowing and kind of switch up the rhetoric a little bit. I got to commend how stable he is in his position. I got to commend how entrenched he is in staying on his business. He will not switch up, but it's like slop. It's unwatchable. It's unwatchable, bro.
If we were to qualify that way, would your opinion change?
Possibly. I think it would change in how the number breaks down based on what we qualify.
But break that down from the Israel standpoint. So you put 25% Israel threat and you're paranoid about
Correct.
Them. What are different things that they can do to harm us?
Israel can hack into our cyber systems. They can hack into our core water, power.
I don't know, bomb a U.S. ship?
Or grid, you name it. I mean, China has hacked into our personnel records for the military. Mm-hmm. Israel is far more capable than China is in terms of cyber capability. They learned their cyber capability from us.
Bro, Netanyahu is in the White House, gang. Is the IRGC in the White House? No, they're being bombed to death by Trump. And you're worried about Islam somehow being more of a security threat to the United States. The brain is not in the room. There's one brain in the room, and it's not with him. And that, I mean Patrick Bet-David.
They can rent their cyber capability from Russia. So when we talk about cyber attacks, space-based attacks, when we talk about influence campaigns, propaganda campaigns, the top of the list of capability is Israel. It's not all strapping bombs and flying in planes. It's much more sophisticated.
Yeah, because some cave-dwelling Bedouin Arabs got into a sophisticated commercial jetliner and perfectly aimed them at some towers. Remember, that's what happened. That's what happened, right?
It's sophisticated enough that they can cross a border into an enemy country and launch drones, right? We underestimate Israel's capability constantly. I don't know how many times you have to see pagers blow up before you realize Israel's far more capable than we believe they are.
Do you see them as an ally?
I see them as a country that is out for their own best national interests. And when you align with that, you're on their good side. And when you don't align with that, you're not.
Is it specific to be?
Yeah, but it's like just being a stripper that's used whenever you are useful. You know, the United States is not a legitimate ally to the Israeli people. We are just a dirty rag that they use whenever they need us. It's that simple. It's a one-way partnership. And there's a one-way beneficiary function of that as well.
Bibi or Israel, period?
I think it's both, but Bibi has taken it to the next level because of the corruption issues that he's also stuck in. There are multiple intelligence surveys out there that talk about how Israel cannot be trusted as an ally to the extent that, say, France or Italy or Germany can be.
It's just crazy. It's just, thank God that video's over. Thank God that video's over. Let's see, we got some super chats here. Oh, one chat says, do you listen to music at the gym? If so, what genre? Music at the gym. I do. I listen to... Honestly, music has gotten tiring for me. But I've listened to Drake a lot. His new albums are really good. I liked all three. I like Drake. I know Myron hates Drake. I like Drake. Call me gay, whatever. I also listen to house. Listening to house, Prosper, I've been getting into that. I listen to some alt music. I listen to Paramore sometimes. What else? Deftones, mainstream stuff, nothing really niche. What else do I listen to? I'll literally listen to everything. I listen to like Deftones and then I'll listen to like Pooh Shiesty. So, pretty broad. But usually at the gym I'll do house. A little more upbeat, gets me going. I have different archetypes I enter. Some days I just want to really be black. You guys ever feel that way? Some days I'm just... Is Sneako calling me? Okay, let's not troll. Unless he's calling me on Discord. Is that real? Oh, he is. Yo!
Hold on. Let me connect my, give me a sec. 1 second. Can't hear you. 1 sec.
No problem.
Sec.
Brother Sneak!
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're on my stream. You're on stream, right?
Hey. Yeah, I'm on stream. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
Did you see Good. Did you just see what happened?
No. What did I miss? I've been on stream for like 2 hours. What did I miss?
Okay. Let me catch you up with this. You remember I said, hold on.
Oh, the 22nd, the holiday?
No. But the sundown, the holiday goes from the 22nd. Sundown just happened July 23rd. I just retweeted 2 tweets. Let me show you something. Let me share my screen.
Let's see.
They even called it. Do you remember when I said it was going to be Epic Fury Part 2?
Yes.
Fox News alert, bombs away.
Can you hear it?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
Central Command delivering devastating blows against Iran. Targets include missile and drone facilities, coastal surveillance sites, and air defense. B-1 bombers tore into the mullahs for the first time since the ceasefire. The long-range jets packed with 2,000-pound bombs flying at the speed of sound. Our electronic warfare aircraft also headed into theater, deployed out of Maine. They're stopping over in the UK. And it jams enemy communications, radars, and navigation. And they're only in the fight when it's a real one. Once Iran caught wind, they threatened to bomb the British base. Good luck. Our F-16 Wild Weasels are back in action. Their motto, first in, last out. You fly into enemy territory, detect radars, destroy them, and clear the battle space for everybody else. Trump wants revenge.
Karachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. I mean, honestly, that's what it's going to be. I mean, they will pay a very heavy price.
Marco says the mullahs are on their knees and begging anybody with a pulse to bail them out.
I hope that they'll stop. They shouldn't really do that. They got suckered into this by the Iranians. You know, the Houthis largely were smart and stayed out of all this throughout the conflict, but they now apparently have gotten themselves suckered into this, going after Saudi Arabia and their ships. And by the way, that's, you know, I was reading reports of
the phrasing is so homoerotic. It's like, I don't want an eye for an eye. I want head for an eye.
It is such.
I want to sucker it in and get head for an eye.
It's such cope. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
2 hours ago that there was actually a Saudi fuel ship that's flagged Chinese. It's a Chinese ship. Are they going to blow up the Chinese ship? Then this becomes a problem for China. This will become a problem for the whole world.
This could open up a second front. The Houthis claim they're blockading the Red Sea, but they're not. They did clip some tankers. One of them, a Saudi ship, now leaking oil into the water. This
Not some. They've bombed
Today,
several.
Oil closed over $100 a barrel. The commander-in-chief says if Iran or its proxies hit a ship, repair costs are coming out of their pocket. All their frozen cash we're holding, we'll just wire it to the ship company to plug the holes. Trump's considering a massive attack against Iran, bigger than Epic Fury.
Yeah, no. And actually, look, I'm reading right now to Bricks News. It says, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Trump has lost faith in diplomacy and is in revenge mode against Iran. Yeah, I can share it for you.
Can you share the screen?
Sure. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. This is literally 9 minutes ago. Should be able to see it here. It says, U.S. President Trump has lost faith in diplomacy and is in revenge mode against Iran. Now it's at 11:21 p.m. Yeah.
Did I call it?
You said the 22nd, right? Was yesterday?
No, 22nd. The holiday goes from 22nd. I just tweeted it. 22nd. I tweeted 5 days ago. It ends sundown the 23rd. This is Tisha B'Av. It started at sundown 22nd and sundown today. This report happened 1 hour ago. Isha was when 9:52. The timing was literally spot.
You were right.
On.
Yeah, you were right.
And I said it was going to be Epic Fury Part 2. This is like, and now Major Revenge. This is the pretext to start a ground troop invasion.
Yeah, and I was just talking about that. So we actually reacted to some of those clips of the bombing. I didn't know it was thousands of pounds, and I didn't know that Trump was this aggressive. Yeah, because what I was expecting was like the crazy aggressive military operation, then the pullback that we always see, and then Trump always hits the taco, like he chickens out, and then we kind of go back to the peace talking deal, and we go back to diplomacy and the table. But now it's full-scale war again. We're going to go back into a similar situation that we saw in March. And you told me, I think in May, and you said it another time last month in June, you said, and you told me when I was with you actually, when we were on stream, you said July 22nd or July 23rd during that holiday phase, they would go back into all-out war.
The holiday's over. The holiday specifically the commemoration of the destruction of the First and Second Temple. Ben Gvir, he storms Jerusalem, storms Al-Aqsa Mosque with 1,300 troops today. And here we go. They got their Goyim American slaves to do this and get right back into epic fury on that holiday. I told you they couldn't resist. Everything about this war has coincided with holidays. Did you also know that Isa, the gospel Injil was revealed to Isa during the month of Ramadan? And Musa, alayhi salam, he was revealed, the Torah was revealed to him during Ramadan as well. So that month is not just about the Quran. It's also about the gospel, and it's also about the Torah. And that's when all this war started. Epic fury started right after the beginning of Ramadan, and every single time there's been a major escalation has coincided perfectly with a Jewish holiday.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. There's some overlap and some coincidence there, and I was, one can call
it
a coincidence.
It's deliberate.
Yeah. No, I get you. And what I was also talking about earlier on stream as well was, go ahead, show it. You're trying to show something?
No, I'm just reading. What were you saying?
No. What I was talking about earlier on stream as well is, it's just so unfortunate. Me and Suleiman Ahmed, we had a good conversation the other day as well on stream when we were talking to him about Iran. He was in Iran, actually. He had an interview with Ismail Bagay. Yeah, so that was really good. I didn't get to watch all of it, but we were talking about how fractured the Middle East is and how all of these Muslim countries are just so cucked and how they're all, they just got their mind on a different page. Saudi Arabia is now doing maybe a nuclear deal with the United States, but then Trump turns around and says, never mind. That he says now they have to sign the Abraham Accords in order for the nuclear deal to be effectuated. So he turned around, stabbed them in the back. But then you got Saudi Arabia, you got the UAE that's glazing Israel. You got Iran, another Muslim country that's fighting Israel. So you got one country that's like got a vague relationship with Israel. You got Iran that's full-blown fighting Israel. And then you got the UAE that's just like sitting ducks fighting back whenever they can without trying to actually get in the way of the crossfire from Iran. And it's just unfortunate. Look at the Abraham Accords, Sudan, Morocco, Jordan might as well be on it as well, Bahrain, all these countries that recognize Israel diplomatically and do deals with them and all the rest. It's just sad to see. And, you know, you call this, and I'm not trying to spark up debate, you call this a holy war. I'm saying the holy war really comes when the Mahdi comes back. And then Jesus follows very closely, and then all the Muslims are unified. That's when I think the real, because Muslims are just so, you know, not to be.
You're right. I mean, the semantics. What I'm saying about holy war is just like it's a religious war. It's a religious war. I'm not saying it's the end times war. Yeah. It's the prophecy. But it is a holy war because it's a religious conflict, for sure. Holy war is just a way to say it's a religious war.
Yeah, I like to say, that's fine. It really doesn't matter. You're right. But there's just spiritual element. And rabbis have said this is like a Ishmael versus Isaac kind of deal. I've heard rabbinical commentary and rabbis say about the war and the situation in Gaza, you know, the children of Ishmael still have a spiritual power with them because the Jewish people believe we have spiritual power. You know that because they don't consider us idolaters. So they say vaguely like, oh, the Muslims also have this like access to Hashem and that's why they can pray in the mosques and stuff. And so there is that spiritual element too, where they think that they're fighting and we have a spiritual power with us too. And there's a way to combat that. But the unfortunate part with this war is this is not going to end until the next presidential election. It's over. Trump has dug himself in. There's no off-ramp politically. It's non-existent at this point. And the Houthis are now in the Red Sea, and they're attacking Saudi vessels. And now they're probably going to clog up just the rest of the vessels, and that's another 12% of the world's oil supply in the global economy as a whole. Now oil prices are going to go up even more, and gas prices and inflation, and everything follows the energy price. And this is just war tax that Americans have to pay for literally nothing else than Israel having more influence in the Middle East. And 3 U.S. service members died in the last week. And did you see the Israeli Telegram chat? There was a Telegram chat. They put a picture of the female soldier.
They're making fun of the Mexicans. Yeah, they're making fun of the Goyim dying for this war. And like people like Osmongold are saying that this war is great. They really want to join. You see Smotrich saying, the finance minister in Israel saying they don't want to send any troops. They're not going to join the Iran war. It's going to let America do it. Right? We're only in this war to defend Israel. They're not even going to help us out.
Dude, look at this. You should take a look at my screen. It says here, alleged, hilarious. Israeli Telegram group goes viral for ridiculing the death of 19-year-old U.S. soldier Isabel Gonzalez. No sympathy, only mockery with a caption. This is the price you pay for Trump's. This is the price to pay for Trump's betrayal. So even with this is why you can't deal with these people. Like, and people say, oh, it's a Netanyahu problem. No, it's actually an Israel problem. The people in Israel are even more extreme than Netanyahu, and sometimes they say he's not doing enough. They're not satisfied with how far the United States has gone in this war. And the United States has gone pretty far. We've bombed bridges. Now we're going to bomb power plants. I mean, how much
Trump said he was going to leave during the MOU. Did you see the Telegram group chats? They were so angry at Trump, and they said that he's the worst. They were cursing him out just because the war paused for like a week. They were all really upset. It never is enough for them. Never. Right? This is not an ally. This is a pimp, and we're the prostitute.
It's so funny you say that because did you see the clip of Benjamin Netanyahu talking to a CIA agent, and he asked him what was the biggest threat to the United States from a security standpoint, like national security risk? And the guy said Israel way more than Islam. He said he had Islam at like 5% and Israel at the majority. And Patrick Bet-David was dumbfounded. He was
no, it wasn't Netanyahu. There was PBD. You said Netanyahu. PBD was
sorry, PBD. Sorry,
and he was saying, he said like Islam is a nation. It's like Islam is not a nation. What are you
so you saw it, yeah. And I was just reacting to that, and I kind of crashed out on stream. But it's just unbelievable. He was presented.
That's your guy. Wait, that's your guy though. That's the right wing. That's the right. That's the right.
Very funny. I'll get to that. He was presented with like 5 minutes of perfectly put points that you cannot argue with in regards to how Israel has a death choke on the United States politically, whatever. And literally all he said to that was, okay, but Islam, IRGC. It's like he's just spewing shit out. Like it's like he's an AI script. It's just like, okay, IRGC, okay, but the proxy network. Like there was literally no coherent response. He didn't deal with anything the alleged ex-CIA agent said. All he said was, okay, but the Muslims. And it really is a test to show like people who constantly take Islam and put it in the way of Zionism truly are trying to divert. And like Patrick Bet-David is just horrible because he doesn't even take a moment. That's
all the right wing, bro. That's
he
all
doesn't
the right
take
wing. Alex Jones does
no,
it.
he's particularly worse because he doesn't even acknowledge Israel.
Look at what Pablo Fuentes-Berg just tweeted too. He just tweeted that any anti-Muslim rhetoric, all it does is serve the interests of greater Israel. Alex Jones is on my stream saying he's declaring a war, even though he knew what happened in 9/11. Look at Pablo, they're saying the same thing. The right wing has no sort of consistent values when it comes to conservatism. They don't care about conservative values. They want to bomb the rest of the world. They accept Lindsey Graham as a conservative. He's literally a gay pedophile who's now burning in hell. He has nothing conservative at all. He spent more time in Tel Aviv than he did at his own home state. He just wanted to destroy the entire world. The right wing is just meant to bomb people. It has nothing to do with American values, nothing to do with conservatism, nothing to do with the people here and the citizens. It's a party that's just used for the endless war machine. These people are not allies because they use the rhetoric against Muslims to justify their endless wars that never stop. The same propaganda around the world is that they need to destroy communism if they become independent of the central bank system, and they need to kill the radical Muslim terrorists if they need to kill a country in the Middle East. Over and over and over again. And it's the right-wingers that do it.
Yeah, but I think and we're going to do this again, that's fine. It's a good discussion. I think there is conflation there, though, because a lot of people on the right wing were upset when Lindsey Graham died. Tucker said, fuck this guy. Anna Kasparian's not even right wing. But everybody who was against Israel said, why are you doing this? Why do I have to agree with everything you... No, why? Why are you doing that?
Because Tucker said he's not allied with the Republican Party anymore. I'm saying the right wing went the Republican Party. The GOP is the war machine.
But the problem that I have in particular with Patrick Bet-David, and you were saying like, oh, this is the right wing. I think you're grouping it all into something else, and it's different. The right wing has different factions. Obviously, no one in the right wing is walking around saying, I love Islam. We know that. I've already said this millions of times when we had our last debate. But the biggest thing that I point out, and the biggest caveat to distinguish whether somebody is legitimate or not, is if they actually recognize how much of a national security threat Israel is and how much they undermine us and how much of an adversary they actually are. Patrick Bet-David can't even do that to the smallest percentage. Not even the smallest amount has he ever done that. He may have somebody on the show who has Israel talking points or anti-Israel talking points, but he counter signals it every time. He says, okay, by Islam, I think I'm a numbers guy, Islam. So what I'm saying is he's the worst of it. Alex Jones is bad too in your debate. All he did was talk about Islam and the imams, and there's like no imams calling for Sharia law. But I think there's other people that recognize, okay, Islam is not actually the greatest threat to American sovereignty, but those same people do attack Islam theologically. But I think you have to be very careful with trying to bring them all into one bubble because that's not the case, and I've told you that several times. So you can look directly at the camera, but I've told you several times there are people on the right who don't scapegoat Islam for every problem in the West. And I've categorically listed them several times.
Okay. Elon Musk
wait, let me ask you a question, though. Are you right-wing or left-wing?
Am I a broken record, chat? There's no way he's asking me this question.
So who are you voting? Okay, there's no left and right. So who would you vote for? Who would you vote for between?
I don't know yet. I don't know. Hold on. I'm not going to vote for JD Vance. Let me spell it out for you. I am not right wing. I am not right wing. I am not left wing. I'm a Muslim. I'm a follower of God. That's it. They love to call me a communist. They call me a Nazi. They call, oh, you're a Democrat. If they try to categorize you in this is how they write you off and they prevent other people from listening to what you're saying. They so desperately want it to be pulled into a group. This is how you prevent people from learning. This is how you create groupthink. This is how people become allied in a faction. This is why Elon Musk went from being a liberal atheist 10 years ago to now grifting Christians, even though he's an atheist, on a podcast today. When he's asked, are you anti-Muslim?
Well, everyone's got their group they grift. Everyone's doing that. Everyone's got a group they grift for the greater good of getting a message across. That's not just Elon Musk does it with the Christians and the white nationalists, 100%.
With the right wing.
But there's people who do that with Islam too. Tucker does that with Islam. Tucker's not Muslim, but Tucker appeases two Muslims, and he's gained a large Muslim audience.
That's the worst thing to grift. Look, there's 1.3% of the population.
Islam's a good thing to grift. Islam is the truth.
Riyad. Yes, it is. But you're saying like that'd be beneficial in the dunya. Grifting it because it's true, that's not grifting. That's because he's like, hopefully he's being earnest and honest, which I think he is if you listen to what he's saying. Tucker would not, you don't benefit from grifting. You benefit from grifting the right wing because they're all dumb chuds who follow what is in front of them. Alex Jones knows he's saying things that are stupid to get a populist movement. Pablo Fuentesberg knows he's appealing to the dumb white populist chuds, even though he's a Mexican Jew, because he wants to get a major audience. They use anti-Islamic propaganda because they get a massive audience from it. Saying things that are pro-Islam, hold on, let me finish. Grifting that does not get you any dunya benefit. Muslims make up 1.3% of the population, and Islam is the most demonized ideology in the world. There's no benefit. You have to say certain things. We have principles.
There's a benefit to grift anything if you do it right. There's a benefit to grift anything if you do it right.
No,
there's no negative backlash from grifting Islam today like there was.
In the dunya, what benefit is there of grifting Islam?
How many Muslims are there worldwide?
2 billion.
Roughly 2 billion. So if you grift Islam and you say, I'm with Gaza, and look, we assume that these people operate in good faith. The Anna Kasparians, the Cenk Uygurs, the Tucker Carlsons, the Candaces, whoever else is sympathizing with the plight of the Palestinian people, sympathizing with Sudan, whatever. We'll just say it's in good faith because that's what a Muslim should do first and foremost. But if you do talk positively about the Muslim people and the Islamic religion, and you highlight the goods in it, and you say, well, I think that Islam is actually not the worst religion. I think it's a good religion. The rhetoric like that and this idea he's stringing along vaguely, it puts all 2 million or 2 billion Muslims in his vehicle, puts them behind his back. In 2001, maybe it wasn't favorable to do that. Wait, let me. You spoke for a while. Let me get my. How
many speak English?
I didn't even cut you. How many Muslims speak? There's about 4.5 million Muslims in the United States. They all speak English.
Right, 1%.
And by the way, my dad literally is on WhatsApp, and there's like 1 million Tucker Carlson videos in Arabic. That's how much wind and traction he's caught in the Arab world. He's literally like, Ryad, look, and there's millions of videos of Tucker Carlson talking with an Arabic translated voice, AI translation. Like, bro, if you throw an idea out there, you will be global and catch the global drift of that community. So
in American politics, that's the worst thing. You get called a communist, you get called a jihadist.
That's not true. Mamdani just won the election. He's Muslim in the most influential city in the United States.
Right, because that's the left wing. Because of the right winger people, grifting Islam is the worst thing you could do.
Regardless of what side you're on, if you are against the genocide, you will catch a lot of popularity from both the right and the left. If you're against it, because being against the genocide means you're against the occupation of the United States. More often than not, that's what that means. So Zoran Mamdani happens to be left wing, and by the way, he claims to be a Muslim, and then he's doing the LGBTQ thing. That's neither here or there. But even his video just now where he was talking about how I had arrested Netanyahu, that got like 10 million views, 100 million views on Instagram, I think it was, and 10 million likes.
How does that benefit him?
All the attention I just highlighted to you. He's become massively popular because of his anti-Israel rhetoric and the fact that he's Muslim. And Muslims do want representation. They have little in the U.S. government.
Please don't go to a whole monologue okay, listen.
You literally monologued. Go ahead.
No, I don't. You go on and on. Look, grifting implies that you're doing something that you know is wrong to get done your benefit, right? Grifting is lying on purpose. People that are opposing the genocide, mostly if they've been consistent with it, they actually oppose the genocide. People like Elon grift Christianity, even though they're not Christian, because there is a benefit. In the Western world, this is the easiest populist audience to use for your own benefit, which is helping out the Jewish supremacists. He's not a Christian. These other people too, they don't go to mass. They don't believe in any of this stuff. They ignore Nostra Aetate. They're not Eric or Kirk and people like this. They go in the mega church. They don't believe in it at all. This is grifting. When people like Anna Kasparian say that the genocide is wrong, they believe it. When Cenk Uygur says this, he gets banned from the UK.
Okay,
when I say this, I got banned from Australia. There's no benefit in the dunya for opposing this. That's what you're conflating.
That's just, it's not a conflation. I'm exactly saying that, and you are wrong. You are telling me that after October 7th, it wasn't more favorable to oppose Israel? That if you tweeted on X, fuck Israel, free Palestine, you weren't getting 10 times the engagement of anybody else who was on the other side, even though Elon Musk controls the app? So you can't really say nobody had any nefarious intention in saying, I oppose the genocide, because it was guaranteed to come with a lot of following, a lot of money, and an explosion in popularity. Cenk Uygur, Young Turks, these niggas fell off. And then the October 7th situation rolled around, and the Israel problem became far more highlighted, and now they're popping again.
He hasn't grifted it. This is what his rhetoric has been for like a decade.
No, the anti-Israel rhetoric has ticked up. He was never anti-Israel like that.
Cenk Uygur and Hassan have always been saying anti-U.S. imperialism, have always opposed this. I've
seen different clips before where he was very careful and reluctant to actually condemn Israel the way he explicitly does now. Anna Kasparian's crazy based on it, but he's been a little bit straddling the fence. I've seen it before. I've seen clips. Okay. Wait. I want to go back to one thing I said too. You're saying Tucker doesn't grift Muslims, and I'm not here to say whether he does or he doesn't. But like, okay, if he's not Muslim and he doesn't believe in Islam, by the way, he explicitly says, like, I'm a Christian. Like, he nervously always implies that. Then, like,
he doesn't think Jesus is God. He thinks Jesus is the Son of God.
Then he's not a Christian.
Well, I mean, they all.
I don't know if that's his belief, but that's a necessary belief to be Christian. To deny the divinity of Christ. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is what he says. He says Jesus is the Son of God. I listened to his podcast and the words. I think he's coming around, but he also knows that admitting it straight up is going to be completely detrimental, because if he embraced Islam, which I think he actually believes is the truth, he would no longer have the major platform.
Okay, but deal with what I said, though. I'm telling you, you could have grifted the October 7th and the Gaza genocide and got a lot of attention from it and not done it in good faith. It was popular to do it.
Yes, I know. What is more popular for the Dunya right now? Klopp just wanted a propaganda tour in Israel. This is a guy who I was around. He was playing that song in the club a couple months ago. Then he's saying, I'm not political. There's a war zone. They have all the money. They have all the fame. If you want Dunya, grifting Israel is by far the easiest to do. What is Pablo Fuentberg saying right now? I want to be Jewish. Being Jewish, I wish I could say that I could bomb all the Goyim. I wish I was Jewish. Rabbi Mizrahi's so right. Man, the anti-Semites are stupid. No more of this third world dump. I think that we should be committing the genocide. Israel's kick so much butt. That should be us kicking the butt. Now it's no longer profitable. It is no longer beneficial to be pro-Palestine. So they switch. If you want Dunya and if you want to grift for a political audience, you follow what Tommy Rubenstein, Pablo Fuentberg, and Elon Musk are saying. Elon Musk just went on a podcast, the African trillionaire migrant, and he's talking, I'm free speech. He said he wanted me deported. Then he goes and is on a podcast. They say, are you anti-Islam? He says, I'm anti-rape and changing. He didn't say no. He's straight up saying, like, he's not even rejecting the idea that he opposes Islam. If you want an audience of chuds, you grift Christianity, you grift white nationalism, and then you grift, hey, America, I love America so much. If you are pro-Palestine, what do they say? You hate America, get deported, you're a brown, you're a third worlder. There's no benefit. I got banned from Australia. People will slander you constantly. Okay. They will write, this is the side that's difficult. Within Dunya, there's no like immediate benefit. If you want money, if you want shekels, Israel's giving $7K. Israel's giving you Mossad honeypots in Israel to go on a propaganda tour. Israel's the one giving people in Turning Point, like Pablo Fuentberg, allegedly giving them money.
You said I monologue. I will literally. Okay, keep going.
They're the ones that are probably paying it off to say that it's low IQ anti-Semitism to insinuate Israel killed Charlie Kirk and not Tyler Robinson. That's who's got the money. That's who's got the Dunya. Go ahead.
Okay, so you said a lot. I wanted to respond, but anyways, so. Look, I still think what you're saying does not respond to what I just told you, which is the fact that being anti-Israel is the most popular thing. Now, I think within being anti-Israel, you have different groups. You have somebody like you have somebody like Fuentes, you have somebody like, I guess, Alex Jones vaguely.
He's pro-Israel now. He's not anti-Israel anymore, bro. Wallahi, he's not. He says straight up,
don't
like
say
Israel
wallahi. He's definitely anti-Israel.
Wallahi, he's not.
Sneako,
he said yes.
I know.
No, let me respond.
Wallahi, you want to get the talk? Let me say something really.
Because he's not anti-Israel, bro. He said yesterday on stream, Netanyahu. Look who they got. They got Laura Loomer. They got the Trumps. They got the. I want to join them.
I get
Who's
it.
Anti-Israel.
No, I get
Peters,
it.
The alcoholic. Yeah,
I think
he is pro-Israel, bro.
Okay, I think that's a little tongue-in-cheek. I don't think he's actually pro-Israel. And I think a lot of the guys who are pushing the anti-Islam stuff, you're conflating that with being pro-Israel. They're just anti-Islam.
Everything anti-Islam is pro-Israel.
No, the two are not mutually exclusive.
They are 100%.
No,
that's the number one propaganda they use.
That's just not true. That's just simply not true. Explain to me how it's impossible for both of those things to exist at the same time, where somebody doesn't like Islam but also doesn't like Israel. Explain to me how those can't both exist at the same time.
Even for the people that don't know what they're doing, and I don't know who you're talking about.
Because it's subversion, is what you're going to say, effectively, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they take deals and they have a script, and that's the number one propaganda they use. So, I mean, you can assume that people are anti-Islam but also not pro-Israel, but I don't know who that is. What is there? Name one person who's anti-Islam but also is actually opposed to Israel.
I mean, I don't want to keep bringing him up, but I know this is like somebody that's continuously attacked you, but I think it's him. I think he's one of them. I think he's one of them. I think he definitely hates Islam, but I also think he definitely hates Israel, and I think it's not impossible to believe both of those things. Now, I know he's attacked you personally. Who?
Come back to this in a month, and you're going to see it's going to...
Yeah,
clearly. I mean, look, if he's anti-Israel, then he wouldn't be running cover and saying that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, bro.
But I want to respond.
He wouldn't say Epstein had aura. He wouldn't say that he hates all women except for Erica Kirk. Like, this is clearly somebody who's picked a side.
No, I don't think I don't know his positions on the assassination completely. I don't know if it's that he likes Erica Kirk. Look, regardless, I'm just trying to say, regardless of all of that, I'm trying to say I know he's anti-Israel and I know he's also anti-Islam. I just think that those two things can exist. I don't think there's an issue with that. I think it's pretty plausible. But I want to deal with everything you just told me. So you're saying that on the right wing, you've got nothing except complete anti-Islam rhetoric, and that's the only thing that will earn you favorability or popularity today, right now, if you're on X, if you're on social media. Is that what you're really telling me?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because the biggest commentators don't have those talking points.
We had
Candace Owens doesn't have that. You went in the same direction, and you still haven't responded. If the biggest people... bro, let me finish a point. You finish your points. I have not interrupted you. If the biggest people who are on the right, he left the GOP, he's still right-wing, or vaguely right-wing, or even centrist, they have tons of influence. At the end of the day, right and left doesn't even matter right now. You're talking about anti-Islam being the biggest scapegoat and anti-Islam being the biggest catalyst for popularity. That's just not, it's not 2003. That's not true. That's completely not true. Maybe in the United Kingdom, Tabi Rubenstein, sure, that's true. Here in the US, that's like not true whatsoever. I don't understand why you're conflating the two. Now, are there two different situations where they try to take advantage of both? Yes, but I think there's tons of people like Tucker, like Candace and others who don't shit on Islam all the day and shit on Israel all the time, all day, every day. And they're the most popular people in American politics right now, the most political voices. So what would your response be to that? Because I've not gotten it.
They have abandoned the idea. Marjorie Taylor Greene says it too. It's not about right and left. It's about right and wrong. The partisan issue, keeping people trapped in a left-right paradigm, is how we stay control.
I'm not trapped in a left-right paradigm, though.
You are propagating it. And I'm saying people like Candace and Tucker, we had this conversation before, will tell you that having allegiance to these parties is not the real issue. What we need to realize now is that it's people on the side of truth and the people on the side of falsehood. Pablo Fuentberg said that he would rather have people worshiping Zeus and Odin. He wants people to worship Roman pagan gods rather than Islam. It's the people that are on the side of truth, Muslims, and the people that are on the side of falsehood. That's it. It's kuffar and Muslims. That's the right left. Right left, all this slop. This is how people like transgenders. This is how people get brainwashed. This is why Elon Musk uses this. This is why they usher in the Antichrist agenda. He puts the jawline everywhere. He knows that he wants the Mashiach. He knows that he wants the Antichrist. Peter Thiel's made it very public. And they use right-left to get people to believe and fall for it. That's
I think there's some matrix elements right-left. Like, I'm not denying that entirely. I think I think sometimes it's two sides of the same coin, especially with Israel. I'm not completely shooting that idea down. But there are just distinguishing factors that we cannot ignore. And I just think you ignore that. And then at the end of the day, all it boils down to is anti-Israel. Bro, really, what did Mamdani campaign on? I'm going to arrest Netanyahu. Now the nigga can't even arrest Netanyahu.
He's a mayor.
So, like, it doesn't even matter
if anybody thought he could arrest him, I think you're delusional. But, actually, it's almost midnight. I have to pray Isha. I want to get it before it's midnight. But,
okay, I was going to...
Maybe I can hop on.
I was going to...
Go ahead. You can make it last point, please.
Here, look, I'll just tally everything up. Forget it. Forget the specifics. I think that there is still a lot of room left in the right wing for people to not scapegoat Islam and recognize the real issue, and we can deal with those ideas separately, but they're not mutually exclusive, and you're yet to prove that to me. And I think sometimes the issues that you're having, the people that are attacking you, wrongly, by the way, the people that are attacking you, you conflate that with, oh, these people are just attacking Islam as a whole, and these people are also pro-Israel, and so they're completely our enemy. And what I'm saying is, no, there's still people from that side that are anti-Israel and have useful voices, and they've done a lot in the last few years. And I'm not even talking about Nick Fuentes, but others as well. And there's people on the right wing that I'm highlighting that are anti-Israel and not anti-Islam, and you just completely ignore it. And to me, it seems like you're left wing, and that's fine, but I would just rather you say it than say, I'm not right or left. To me, it seems like you're left wing. So I agree to disagree, but that's just what it seems like you've taken the stance on. And it seems like you're trying to like not admit that and just say, I'm in the middle. That's what I'm gathering.
I'm left wing. Okay.
That's what I'm gathering.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm left wing.
Bro.
But I hope you realize you are propagating the system that helps these endless wars. Like dividing us in this. At the end of the day, bro.
The same system has people on the other side who, like I've said, want you dead and hate you.
The right wing wants you dead far more than anybody on the left.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Okay, bro.
I won't.
Who's
I won't get
genociding Muslims
censored
right now, bro? Is it the transgenders genociding Muslims, or is it the right-wing Israelis? Is it them? And who is supporting them the most? Who's giving them all the money?
American right-wingers are
They are
genociding
the right wing
Palestinians,
are the ones
or
funding and promoting
Jewish
them.
Israelis are
Bro,
genociding
who is giving them the
Palestinians?
money? Who is
American
paying for them?
right-wingers here are against funding Israel. The Pew
No,
Research
they're
Center
not.
just did a poll.
No, they're
Most
not.
Americans sympathize with Palestinians. Again, the government is separate from the people, and I'm against this administration. You're doing the conflation thing, bro, and there's nuance and specifics in this. You just try to say, the right wing wants you dead, Ryad, because you're black and Muslim. It's like, not really, though. Not really. It doesn't make much sense. You have to expand upon that, and you have not. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, the left wing.
Judeo-Christian what?
Judeo-Christian values. This is promoted by the right wing.
Who
They're
upholds
literally-
that? Who upholds
Bro,
that?
Trump, Rubio, Hegseth. They're
And I'm
all
against the
right-wing.
administration. I'm against the
It
administration.
doesn't matter what you're against. The right wing is in charge right now, giving all their money to Israel, funding the genocide that's killing you.
But
you're
this
not a
right wing,
right-winger first,
this
you're a
right wing is
Muslim.
not representative of America first, Sneako. You do realize this right wing is not representative of actually favoring the country. This is an Israeli administration. Trump has been the biggest catalyst and enabler
always
for
has
Israeli
been.
power.
There's never been-
So
every
this
time-
right wing is not the right wing. This right wing is not what he campaigned on in 24 or in 16. So like, what are you talking about right wing? Again,
There's
you're
never
talking about
been
Trump. I'm with
There's
you.
never been a unique Israel separate right wing in America.
Nor has there been for the left. So where do we go?
So I'm saying stop following right left and realize that
So-
you're a Muslim first. Your religion is not right wing.
Bro, just let me say this really quick. The only people who can make changes in the country are people who have political representation, right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so that necessitates they either have to be on the right or the left, right or wrong. We have to deal with that.
What's been great is that Mamdani, for example, is causing all this disruption in the left. And now the Democrats are mad that they're radicalizing the left and pulling them away from that paradigm. They're upset and they're thinking they're going way too
They're
far.
actually capitulating. They're actually capitulating because they know they'll lose favorability if they don't adopt the DSA mindset.
And they're very upset that they have to. And so right now it's being pulled away. The right-left paradigm does not exist the same way anymore. People like Mamdani have nothing in common with the Democrats who also support these endless wars. Let
Bro,
go of this right-left matrix.
You're
Ryad.
completely right. You're completely right. I'm
I
not
thought it was
even
left.
trying. Look,
I thought it
I'm
was
not
liberal.
even. I'm not even trying to. I don't even want to argue this because I think there's some truth to what you're saying, but you're making it way too vague and like gray area, and it's not. Yeah,
I'm not.
Mamdani's not as
It's
left
not
as these
vague.
mainstream Democrats that we've seen in the last 20 years. He's even further to the left. If somebody's far right, he's far left. He is a socialist. Okay, so he
Right,
believes
but
in abolishing ICE
Hitler
and
was a
open borders,
socialist.
abolishing
Hitler was a
ICE and
socialist.
open borders, and giving mass amnesty to immigrants. Is any of that like centrist? Is any of that like not right, not left? That's left wing. That is
Well, I mean, the
tangentially
Pope
left
Leo-
wing.
Pope Leo embodies Christian values, right? The leader of
What
the
the
Catholic
fuck
Church.
does Pope Leo have to do with the United States and the two parties that uphold the United States?
Because he's pro-immigration and he took a stance in the Iran war and said it's a disaster. So if you're saying that the right wing is embodied by Christian values, the leader of the Catholic Church is left wing by your
You're
ideology.
putting words in my mouth. When did I say the right wing is embodied by Christian values?
So what is it embodied by?
I never said it was embodied. The right wing is consistent of many things. Some of them conservative that people try to say is more Christian based, more Judeo-Christian, like you just said, or
there you
more
go.
biblical. But the most important thing in the right wing is the fact that there can be a faction that emerges from an eventual, not this GOP, that is not glazing Israel. And we shouldn't have to settle with the people it seems like you're settling with to achieve that goal because it will ultimately bite you in the back. And that's what I've been telling you since we've had this debate 2 or 3 times in the last month. So you're admitting right now that there is a right and a left by saying that.
I'm saying we need to stop promoting this system because it keeps you in
Okay,
factions
Sneako,
with
so if
people
we
that
stop
wanna kill
promoting
you.
it, where do we go?
It
Where
keeps
do
you
we
in
go?
factions with-
Where do we go? We have to leave the country if we stop promoting right and left.
No,
There is two
you
sides.
don't. Then you ally with people who make the most sense and get it right on the most important issues. I'm not a far left socialist liberal like you're saying. Mamdani is far more correct than anybody else in politics right now. Ilhan Omar agrees. She said Mamdani's correct to want to arrest Netanyahu. She's left wing, but she's right about the most
I just
important
glazed
issue.
him for 5 minutes on trying to arrest Netanyahu. I did.
So that's one point. So don't get audience captured. Don't get stuck into a party. You're a Muslim first. You're not a right winger. That's all my point. I really have to pray. I'm late. Assalamu alaikum.
Go ahead. Assalamu alaikum. Holy cortisol spike. Anyways, holy cortisol spike. Okay. Did I get any chats while we were doing that? David says Sneako categorizes everyone as right wing, but claims he's not left to right. Just claim left to ready, bro. I mean, yeah, I just told him, like, you might as well say that, but it's fine. Sneako ever get tired of being weak? Okay. Thanks for the super chats. All right. Anyways, so I was talking about Patrick Bet-David, I think, right? What were we talking about before Sneako came in? Well, we were pretty much finishing up anyway, so it's not like I missed out on a whole bunch. I gave you guys everything that's going on. Section 219. Well, what can I say about that while he's gone? Look, I agree with him. There is a matrix when it comes to the right and the left, and people get too hyper obsessed about that and sometimes miss major issues. But that's not something we can entirely ignore either. That's a reality of the American system we live in, and we have to choose a side or a general side if we want to actually have influence and vote. That's the power of democracy, right? If people have the power, if people are able to control the country themselves like the United States is set out to work like and be, then we have to choose some sort of side. I'm not saying, oh, I'm pro-Trump and pro-MAGA and pro-war and pro-anti-Islam. That's not, when have I ever said that? But it's, again, it's this conflation with all these moving pieces at the same time. It's not true whatsoever. Yeah, people from the right wing say bad things about Islam. Okay, so what? Because a Democrat says I like Islam, I'm going to vote for a Democrat when they make my life harder economically and financially, and they side with LGBTQ. You might as well pick your poison. So we can't do this whole conflation like nonsense. It's nonsense to me. So it is what it is. And by the way, I don't come on here every day and say I'm a hard right-wing political commentator and right-wing Republican GOP every single day. Grand old party. Traditional conservatism, and I never say that. But if I had to tell you what side my ideology is more aligned with, it's right-wing. And for some reason, Sneako doesn't like that. I don't know why. I don't know why, because it doesn't take away from my anti-Israel rhetoric. It doesn't take away from the truth. It doesn't distract anybody. He thinks it distracts people. No, it doesn't distract people. I think he gets too emotionally hell-bent on people attacking him. And then he says, oh, they're all attacking all of us and they're attacking Islam. It's like, not quite. Not quite. So that's what I was trying to tell him. I said, bro, if you're just left-wing, then just say you oppose these niggas because you're left-wing. And he's like, no, I'm not left-wing. And I'm like, all right. But he's sympathetic towards Mamdani and stuff. And it's like, I get it. Mamdani's anti-Israel, and I voice support for that rhetoric as well. But I draw the line there. That's it. I draw the line there, and there's no more pro-Mamdani rhetoric after his anti-Israel trope. So he had his video, and he said, I can't arrest Netanyahu. Great. Most people voted for you because you could arrest Netanyahu. Now you fucking can't. So he's saying, oh, there's no right and left. I guess he's right, because both sides can't even defy Israel in some way. So whether you get extreme left or extreme right, it looks like Netanyahu can't get arrested. But he's telling me, oh, well, you might as well not. I might as well choose the right wing if neither side has power. It's just a bunch of things. It's a bunch of things. But, you know, there are two parties, okay? There's not going to be some outside party. That would never work. It is what it is. We live in a matrix, and we have to operate within it to the best of our ability. That's how it is. We can have like the dream fairy tale idea, like, oh, we can resist all of this and create our own party. Good luck. Good luck. That'd never work. That'd never work. The establishment is here. It's here to stay. There's no way around that. So you might as well pick your side and battle it out. That's what I've done. That's what I've accepted. That's the only way I've ever perceived it. And I get it. There is this mass matrix ideology, but bro, let's not get lost in the lines there. There are two differences of opinion. And there's hidden motives. Okay. Kabat says, Ryad, you were always such an L defending the Jews and anti-Islam and always attacking Muslim countries, both siding it on the fence. Get the fuck out of here then, retard. You clearly don't watch me. So goodbye. You can go to Sneako's stream. I'm Muslim. I pray. Is what it is. Cope harder. Thought I was going to be nice and like debate that. Get the fuck out. It's all good. Love says, Sneako ever get tired of... Sneako cried for his girl in the PP. Okay, come on. Sneako's still my buddy. John says, see the PBD clip. Also send Sneako my book. I'll send it over to him. Kormadut says, Sneako gets a new ideology every 3 months. It's whatever. Look, I get it. I understand where he's coming from, especially with the personal attack he's received, but I don't want him to lose sight of things that actually exist in reality. So we disagree strongly. One Chess says, consider day streaming on weekends for backdrop. Oh, I think you super chatted that earlier. He said up to do day streams. Yeah, so maybe I'll do a weekend day stream Saturday. Not a lot of you guys were in here, but yeah. And then this is the stupid super chatter here. I'm about to give you the Myron treatment. He says, Ryad, you are such an L, always defending the Jews. You're so fucking dumb. I just spent 2 hours attacking Israel, dumbass. I just spent 2 hours telling PBD he's a retard for blaming Islam. I've spent time telling you how I believe Islam is more correct than Christianity. You're not a viewer. People cannot conceive that I don't agree with Sneako on everything, yet I'm still a Muslim. Like what? People say, oh, you're a Muslim first and you're right wing. Yeah, okay, obviously. But politics and religion are actually two separate things. And when you conflate the two, you lose sight of what encompasses right and left. I try not to do that. So, you know, dude says, you're always siding with the Jews. I'm siding with the Jews. I talk about Israel more than you do. What the fuck do, you fucking loser? Do you have a fucking stream? Do you have a fucking camera? Do you have 1.1K people watching you? You fucking dumbass. Be humble. Know your place. You send it in a normal chat, I'm gonna shadow realm you. Yeah, you're getting the Myron treatment, retard. I don't mind a Sneako fan criticizing me, but don't come in here and say you don't talk about Israel and you support Jews and you support pro-Jewish rhetoric. You fucking stupid fuck. Watch your mouth, dumbass nigga. The dumb chats are going to start to get this treatment. I try to be calm. I try to allow people to disagree with me and not go crazy. Another $5. Good goy. Thank you very much. Now crying. What I mean is type anti-Islam. Shut the fuck up. You know what you said. Accept what you said or get out of my chat. I'll shadow realm you if you super chat some stupid shit again. I don't need your money, brokey. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Don't say that. You said you were very clear in your super chat. I'll take the time out the show. I'll let you derail it. I'll cook you. Sympathizing with pro. I just attacked Patrick Bet-David for 40 minutes. Scrub back in the stream. You must be new here, dumb fuck. All I do is talk about the West Bank. All I do is talk about Gaza. I don't spend any time talking about these Muslim enclaves. I don't spend time talking about Plano, Texas. I don't spend time talking about Michigan. I don't attack my own people. You fucking dumbass. If you were around here, you would know that. You would know that. Sneako asked me my opinion on Times Square. I said, yeah, it's a bad idea. Oh, he's anti-Islam. You're precisely the cancer. You're precisely the cancer. But it's okay. You're too dumb. You don't understand nuance. So everything to you is, oh, he's Jewish. He's Jewish. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of my chat. Dumbass. Dumb fuck. Congratulations. I'm going to crash out on you like Myron. You got it out of me, dumbass. Coming here with that low IQ shit. Silly goose. He's still talking? Fucking dummy. You know what? To the shadow realm you go. Cry over there while you can't send a message, stupid. And I usually let people attack me in my chat. That's how you know you're really dumb. Usually I let people attack me in my chat. You can ask the people who are familiar in this space. So you really went beyond the pale there. So thank you for your 10. Goodbye. Be gone. Get the fuck out of my chat, dumbass. MTV says Sneako pushes people away from Muslims, not to it. That's not. No, I won't say that. I don't believe that. Sneako really believes in Islam, man. I spent time with him privately. You know, off stream. And he's not. That's not his intention. Nor is I think that's the case. Look, a lot of people do hate Islam. I'm not denying that. But again, the conflation comes in what I was explaining earlier. I don't want to go back into it for the 5th time, but you know, there's a conflation that I want him to avoid. Y'all debate constantly. Ever have a normal chat? I don't know. I would love to have a normal chat with him. It started that way. But it just ends up always turning into a debate. But it's okay. It's fine. So, oh, you chatted, Stoges? Hold on. I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me go through. Maybe I missed some. My apologies. Stoges, I don't see your chat. I don't see your chat, man. It's not in here for me. If you did send me 20, thank you so much. I didn't see it though. But anyways. Oh, I was winning on his stream poll and he took it down? I don't know. His viewership actually is not a fan of me. I see a lot of negative rhetoric in there against me, so it's whatever. But it's okay. It's okay. Still love Sneako. That's my guy. We disagree really hard, but it's fine. It's my guy. All right, so yeah, that's really it. That's really it. Sorry to curse so much, guys. I don't like to curse. I really don't, but you know, when chatters come in and say, you don't talk about Israel, goodbye. Goodbye. Disrespectful, goodbye. Enjoy as a watcher. Your chatting rights have been revoked, stupid. Ryad says, the different archetype talk earlier, so true. Only ninjas named Ryad. Ryad, get it. Shout out to you. Hassan says, so you wouldn't vote left even if they're anti-Israel? I've addressed this many times. If the left is, first of all, let me explain this for you guys. Let me really break it down. Right now, Democrats are weaponizing anti-Israel talking points. Right now, Democrats have voted more than half in the most recent bill that was proposed by Massey to cut aid to Israel, including humanitarian aid, which is quite significant. And by the way, I've never been shy of giving them their credit about that. And I said this is what's going to earn them a presidential election, or winning the presidential election, rather, in 2028. And I've said this. I said it's probably slow for any Republican to try and run because this GOP has ruined the perception of what a Republican is, which now is synonymous with Israel. That I admit. However, what are the other things that these DSA candidates that are winning at a record level are showing? What are their other policies? No borders, a mass amnesty for illegal immigrants that actually strain the economy for you and I. They also believe that prisoners and people in mass incarcerated prison or mass incarcerated people should be released. That's what Daria Liza, the 13th congressional winner, had just said. That was endorsed by Mamdani. They also believe in wiping their nose with the American flag. And so, are you actually anti-Israel, or are you just weaponizing that and propelling Islam forward and making it seem like you like Islam so you can win and then attack all of the people that you hate on the right and destroy them? I think that's what it seems like. And to me, it's a bad faith way. The same way Donald Trump campaigned on taking the country back and closing the border and then betrayed everybody in 2016 and cucked for Israel and greenlit the IRGC as a terrorist organization 2 years later. The Democrats are going to do the same thing. Mamdani steps into office in New York City and he says, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu, and then has to release a video saying he can't. And so you're going to tell me, oh, Ryad, you got to get with the Democrats because this one issue voting system actually matters, or this is actually a good way to get into it. Even if the Republicans are saying better things, if the Democrats are anti-Israel, it matters more. Actually, no, because the Democrats are not going to be anti-Israel. It's all a joke. And so what we'll see, I'm telling you, I can almost guarantee you, is anti-Israel rhetoric coming out of the right wing at some point in the near future. That will catch wind. And once it does, it will be the exact opposing ideology from the DSA. You'll have the far right that opposes Israel, and you'll have the far left that opposes Israel. And when those two sides exist, can I guarantee that either one will actually oppose Israel? It's tough. It's tough because we've heard this before, and when they get elected and they actually get power, that's not what actually happens, and all the promises blow in the wind. But at least I'm choosing the lesser of two evils with respect to their domestic policy and what they believe in. Mamdani is just not for us in any way at all. Oh, but he's Muslim. Okay, is he really though? Because why is he walking around with gay people at gay parades? I'm not saying he's not Muslim, don't misunderstand me, but it's like you can't use that Muslim card if he's doing anti-Islam things himself. People on the right wing are anti-Islam. It's also anti-Islam to walk with an LGBTQ parade. You know, so we've got to be consistent and we can't stoop so low. Oh, this lady hates the country and this lady wants to open the borders and wants to abolish ICE and doesn't want any law and order and authority, which is why the United States is a country we can control and a country we can enjoy. You can enjoy this country because largely it is actually safe. Largely there is law and order. There's authority. It's a first world country. She doesn't want that, but she's anti-Israel. So we should vote for her. Okay. One congresswoman who happens to be anti-Israel, but also hates everything that keeps America as strong as it is. She's a socialist. She wants to take your tax dollars and give it to other people. She wants to freeze the rent for millions of Americans the same way Mamdani does. Who's winning there? You're losing. And for what? Israel's going to stop its onslaught in Lebanon and Gaza and the West Bank? Sudan's automatically going to be freed from the UAE? Like, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm not losing sight of the greater good of what matters domestically for the sake of anti-Israel rhetoric. Oh, he's anti-Israel, so even though he's opposed on every other opinion I have, I'll vote for him. The bar is low. Everybody should be anti-Israel. And if we stoop so low and capitulate to these left-wing candidates being anti-Israel, then where are the standards? No, everybody should be anti-Israel. And if we withhold our votes and wait for the right guy who says the right things, everybody will have no choice but to adopt that rhetoric. But we force it out of them by not folding too early. The moment we see a semblance of anti-Israel rhetoric from the left, it's immediately jump on it. No, wait and expect the right to adopt the same talking points if they want any political representation, which would be necessitated by you withholding your vote and not capitulating, because they won't win if you don't vote. So I've explained this a million times, but I know maybe you haven't heard. So I want to make sure I can respond to you, Hassan. Ivan says, don't turn into Myron. We like your calm demeanor. I know I crashed out. Sorry. You know, you're sending me money to tell me that I'm anti-Islam. I'm pro. Goodbye. You know, well-deserved crash out. Stoja says another 20 for dealing with Sneako's bullshit. It's okay. Stoja, I really didn't see your other super chat, man. So if you want, just put it in the chat and I'll read it for you. I didn't see it. Thank you for the 20. Ivan Boy says, I'm full-on Christian, and him saying something about DOJ and the people that started the war are Christian. I don't see them as Christians at all. There's nothing Christian about anything they did. Good debate with Sneako, though. Yeah, Marjorie Greene is Christian, and she's against the war. There's many Christians who are against the war. I don't think he's conflating that it's like a Christian war. I don't think that's what he said, but whatever. You both agree a lot. Let's try to focus more on agreement. Sneako's stupid sometimes. Both chats just end up in divides. We love Ryad and Sneako's chat. Thank you so much. Look, Sneako's my buddy. I don't want to fight. I really don't want to argue with him, but we do it. Low-key, it's content. But look, I don't want it to get clipped on X2 and then people attack him or attack me. I'd rather be unified with him. But it's fine. It's whatever. Okay. Let's see. Read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I have already. Stoja, send in your chat, because I'm going to read it. I believe you. I missed it, so I'm going to read it. Because sometimes YouTube does do that. It's happened to me before. So send in, just put it in the normal live chat. Oh, don't put it. I see it here. $20 is for you having to deal with that bullshit. Okay, do you think you're better in a debate than Myron? I think you do a heck of a job clarifying your points while also listening. W. Ryad. No, I don't think so. Myron's been doing this for a long time. But I didn't anticipate to debate. Look, when you're debating, you can't like have a discussion and like not debate. You're either debating or you're not. You know what I mean? So if you try to straddle the line, you'll lose sight of everything. So I realized once he was going full on like there is no right and left, whatever, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a debate. And I just listened to him and responded to what he said. And also, I kept asking him to respond to what I was telling him. I said, deal with my point about Tucker and Candace, whatever. So, you know, I tried to focus up and listen, but I didn't want to debate him, nor did I anticipate it. You know, but it's okay. Good little fight. At the end of the day, we're Muslim, right? So, all right. Guys, that's it. I know there's a lot of you in here probably enjoying the debate, but that's really it from me. If you're new here, remember to subscribe. Sorry for the cursing and stuff. I try to keep it clean. I try not to crash out and stuff, but, you know, you come in here and slander me, I have no choice but to respond with that energy. Love all of you guys. Appreciate it. Shout out to Love Speech. I know some of you guys may have jumped over here and took a little listen, so shout out to you guys. Love everybody. We covered the situation in Iran. We covered the Saudi nuclear deal. We covered Section 219. And we also shout out Patrick Bet-David a little bit. So, fun time. Good talking points. But I think that's it. I'm caught up in chats. And love all of you guys. Until next time. Maybe Saturday is next time I'll be live because tomorrow's after hours. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear. Love all you guys. Have a great rest of your night. God bless.